What's going on? Good morning. 6 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. New league year. Who this? The Titans made a bevy of moves yesterday, keeping their own and signing some big names. We'll start with the splash, as the Titans steal wide receiver Calvin Ridley away from the Jaguars, signing a 4-year, $92 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Last year in Jacksonville, Ridley hauled in 76 receptions for 1,016 yards and 8 touchdowns. Titans also adding Mason Rudolph, starting 13 games for the Steelers over 4 years. Even last year, starting 3 and going 3-0 when starting for the injured Kenny Pickett. And the Folk hero returns, Nick Folk, signing a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. Folk went 29 of 30 on field goals last year, with his only miss coming from 50-plus, leading the league in field goal percentage at 96.7. And in the SEC tournament yesterday, Georgia over Missouri 64-59, and Arkansas takes down Vanderbilt in overtime 90-85. 4 games today with Mississippi State and LSU starting at noon. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your own for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast, and we thought that Rand Carthon and the Titans might make a big splash. Well, you got your big splash. His name is Calvin Ridley. 615-737-1045. How you jump in. The Titans yesterday afternoon add another big AFC South star, and we react with you all morning long as Mason Rudolph joins the Tennessee Titans. Really
Familiar over there. I know, I was waiting.
That's a big AFC star. Mason, okay. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer, Ryan Wilbur.
Hey, my bad. I thought you was finishing the setup, man. I ain't want to just jump in right there, man.
Like you'll never jump in before I'm done finishing the setup ever. With songs, with comments, with sounds, with anything.
With everything. You doggone right, baby. I'm here for it, Will.
Never once happened before.
I got one gripe. That's it. I got one gripe. They got to stop hiring my friends, okay? They got to stop hiring my friends.
I know, man. You got some inside stuff you're telling them over there?
Yeah. No, I do not. Oh, no. If that starts, that will never end. Ramon said, no, not Ramon.
Ramon said he was the guy.
Mason didn't hit me to that one. I'll be honest, he didn't. I immediately texted me afterwards and everything, and we talked. He's super excited about it. Great opportunity for him. Play this role, go about his business, man. Great value for a dude that had a good finish to the end of his season. And I was ecstatic about that. And then, poof.
Ridley, breaking news.
The breaking news sounder happened. And I was like, what in the heck? Big time. I was overly surprised. I'll just leave it right there and we can go from there, man. Overly surprised by that. Did not see it coming. Blindsided. Whatever you want to use.
Right. And that's mostly because we had heard the recent report that I think it was by Jordan Schultz that it had been whittled down to the Jags and New England Patriots. So at that point, you kind of think, okay, doesn't look like the Titans are in the mix because we've mentioned his name before. There wasn't any concrete evidence he was coming here. But you're right, a pleasant surprise for me, too, to hear that yesterday because I thought that the Titans were out on it.
Yeah, well, they were nowhere near it from Wall reporting. Nowhere near it.
Even, yeah, there wasn't even like concrete anything that they were in the mix.
Absolutely not.
Doesn't it feel like the Titans learned a lot from maybe over-publicizing what they wanted to do last offseason?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the second move they have made where we thought they were doing the opposite. Right before they signed Tony Pollard, Diana Rossini, The Athletic. Oh, the Titans are on the second wave of running backs. They're going to wait this out and see who pops out. 5 minutes later, Tony Pollard, Tennessee Titan. The other day, oh, the Titans are not in the mix for Calvin Ridley. It's Jags and Patriots. Jags and Patriots. 5 minutes later, Calvin Ridley is a Tennessee Titan. I wonder who else is on their radar that we have no idea is on the radar. And it starts to make you think that anyone you know that's publicly on their radar maybe isn't after all, as they go move in silence like lasagna for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what it is. A little birdie told me it was just exactly how they going to operate.
Yeah.
All the leaks that used to come out and that type of stuff. I think with the separation of executive board, I guess is what you want to call it, with the GMs and whatnot, with Chad Brinker, Anthony Robinson, Brian Carthon, and you let them operate and do their specialties. But the conversation that I saw on social media was, of course, it was a Chad Brinker. This was a Rand Carthon. This was a Brian Callahan and Anthony Robinson matchup right there. And that, to me, signifies, one, to have that many people working that close, that together, and no leaks whatsoever. I'm talking about from agents, the big network personalities. It seems to me every single one of them were shocked by it. So when we speak about, the operation of this team, what direction it's moving in, I think it's kind of apparent that Miss Amy is allowing them to do football. She's allowing them to walk in a pathway to success, to keep this team relevant. Yesterday, I think it might have. I'd love to know what the Titans' impressions were as far as social media, from ticket sales to just social media clicks to the name being searched on all platforms. And with all that, nothing got out.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing got out.
That tells me, too, you guys, that unlike kind of what we've seen in the past several years, I'm not going to use the C word, but it looks like everyone's on the same page.
You
Which
probably
word is
should
that?
actually say which word you're talking about.
I was about to say, what word did we miss out on? Okay, all right,
the long one.
Yeah, collaboration.
But it looks like they're on the same page from top to bottom. And I really don't feel like that's been the case for the past several years. And I'm not going to put any blame on one specific person in that organization at the time. But from the hiring of Callahan to the hiring of the coaching staff, which, by the way, we didn't have a ton of leaks on that either, to what they're doing in free agency, I just feel like this is one boat rocking at the same time. And I think that is going to do them well as they're trying to start anew here in Tennessee, a new brand, a new identity. So props to them and kudos to them, what they're doing over there.
Our question of the morning, at Ramon Kayla Will, how many yards will Calvin Ridley have in his first season as a Tennessee Titan? 615-737-1045. You can drop you a reaction on the phone lines at the F&M Beg Chat, where you can watch the show live on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
That news coming out around 4 o'clock yesterday, so I know many of you have only had a couple of hours to react. So you can react with us. 615-737-1045. As we mentioned, the Titans do add Mason Rudolph as well yesterday, and the SEC tournament also starts off yesterday in front of a great crowd at Bridgestone Arena. I was in the building for it. I've got some fun stories about some interactions I had.
Do you really?
In the building
you
for
in
it.
arenas, man.
I don't know what it is sometimes, but
you need a chaperone.
Dealer's choice on y'all's part if I divulge this story now or later in the show.
I mean, why not start the morning off with a story of
Yeah, a little SEC spiciness, because I got a feeling this is more spicy than it is bland.
Did you cut shorts or jeans?
I did not.
Okay.
Did you want to cut somebody?
No, I think somebody wanted to cut me, though.
Yes.
And wanted me not only off the airwaves in Nashville, but just off probably Nashville. So essentially, the bowling family tradition is to attend the SEC tournament. Yeah. We've been doing this since I was in high school. We get tickets to the whole tournament. It is a yearly thing. This was our spring break growing up, essentially. So we sit at the tournament. We get there. It's open seating, like general admission. And then they tell us, like, hey, actually, if you have a ticket to every day of the tournament, you can actually go tell someone, and then you can sit in your seat. Which that part of it was annoying, but that's not even the problem at hand of this. So we were sitting around these Vanderbilt students or graduates or sidewalk fans. I don't know what they were. And one of my college buddies was with me, and he was loudly cheering for Arkansas. Wearing neutral colors, didn't have any UT stuff on, like neutral colors, like a fleece, like whatever. And so we decided, like, all right, we're going to make a parlay, a parslay, as it's known sometimes. And we took Arkansas minus 5.5. Fair. They finished the season strongly with an overtime loss at Alabama that they probably should have won. And we took Missouri plus 2.5, which that would hurt at the end of it because Well, they both did because Missouri was going to win the game and then didn't. And then Vandy tried to foul, winning or losing by 5, and they didn't give the foul with 10 seconds left. And so Arkansas didn't cover. So essentially, like, we're not being loud. We're like probably 6 or 7 rows away from these people. We originally were sitting behind them. Then we realized we could get in our actual seats. So then we moved to the other seats, which are like not close to these people.
Yeah.
These people would have to go out of their way to come talk with us because we are not on their way out to the door. So they could walk by us and walk behind us with like way far away and never see us.
No need to be in the same vicinity.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So the game ends, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and this guy comes up to me and says,
"Oh, he came to you."
He tapped me on the shoulder and comes up behind me and goes, "Hey, bro, did you go to Arkansas?" And I turned around. It's a guy in like a light gold shirt, and I said, "No." And he said, "Well, bleep off." And I said, "Which school did you actually graduate from? Because it's probably not Vandy." And he responded, he was actually starting to walk away at that point. Then he came back, and then he was shaking. Like, he looked like he was about to cry. And he goes, I went to Vandy. And I said, how's that art history degree treat you, buddy? How's the liberal arts degree treat you? And he had this, like, he did not expect that. And so he, like, looked down and was like, better than your 104.5 salary, and stormed off. And I said, hey, thanks for listening, bud. Have a nice night.
So he was a listener.
Have a nice night.
Yeah, he knew he was agitating you, man.
If you are listening out there, buddy, on your way to be a paralegal for probably $15 an hour, I don't know what you're doing paperwork for somebody. I hope you staple those papers together very well today. 615-737-1045. Please call in. Please. You clearly know who I am. Help me know who you are. Publicize yourself in the way that I have clearly publicized myself enough to be known by you.
Ooh, we're going to get heated this morning.
I love it. Hey, let's go. Will cooked yesterday and so did Rand. Let's go, baby.
And congratulations on Jerry Stackhouse being your basketball coach. 615-737-1045 is the number. I would say wait till baseball season, but can't do that against Tennessee either anymore. So I don't know what you should wait for.
Hey, we're not pooing on the Vandy boys. I'll tell you that.
Well, I just did.
Oh, man, let's go.
Wait till bowling then, I guess.
This is what happens during the SEC tournament? I love it.
The arena was totally full last night.
Mm-hmm.
The TV sounds
good.
Yeah,
they
looked really good.
They had 75-cent tickets for that one session last night.
Dang.
No, I'm dead serious.
No, you're joking.
They had a flash sale.
Oh, jeez.
I had I'm dead serious.
Okay. I can't tell if he's serious or not on this one. Because it did involve one team.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But it was electric from what I heard on TV. I heard Ron and them talking about it during the broadcast. And I was listening on the radio for a while, too, as I was waiting on my kid to get done with baseball practice.
And riding your bike.
And rode the bike. A real good session yesterday. I almost fell off my bike with the breaking news sounder.
I was thinking when I was listening, I was like, is Ramon still on the bike? Is he okay?
I was. I had to stop and pause my workout for a little while. I did. It was insanely great yesterday. I'm talking about what a whirlwind of a weekend, of a day, of a week so far.
It's like Christmas early.
It is. I'm ecstatic again. I knew some stuff was cooking, but I didn't know it was gonna be this good. You know what I'm saying? It's just like going to somebody's house and you're like, man, I didn't know you could cook like this.
Rand's like Wolfgang Puck.
No, for real. You feel me? Emeril Lagasse out here. That's what I'm saying.
For the record, there's nothing wrong with making $15 an hour, but the way this guy was talking to me, it made it seem like he was
Hey,
the CEO of a company.
Bleep that guy. You know what I'm saying?
I not long ago was making $15 an hour. That's just fine.
I've never made $15 an hour.
Okay.
I just go by salary.
Saying. No, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy. I wish I would have at his age.
Which I didn't do.
I started cooking and burnt the food a little bit.
It seemed like dude wanted to fight you.
He did.
So he pointed you. He definitely saw you out.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I had not made eye contact or conversed with him whatsoever.
The fact that he tried to trash your job. One, anytime you hit somebody with the joke like that, to demean their job and stuff like that, that's when you know you got them. Like when they go off the rails like that, that's when I know I got you right there.
I know.
Yeah, tough for him, man. That's a tough cookie right there.
I know. So let's talk about Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. 615-737-1045. How you feeling about your new wide receiver 1 of the Tennessee Titans. We'll take a look at what the stats say, and we'll look at what a friend of the show wrote about it in The Athletic yesterday. Next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson with QC Kinetics. It is that time of year to enjoy life. Stop letting that pain in your joints keep you from doing what you love to do this spring, because it is right around the corner. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, and I'm talking about lasting joint pain relief, no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. In fact, QC Kinetics is literally transforming lives. Their advanced treatments actually harness your own body's ability to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. So we always talk about this. You've probably heard it in the news before. Pro athletes been doing this for decades, but this life-changing treatment is also available for you now. So you can walk, run, go play golf, climb stairs, play with your kids, do what you want to do pain-free. No pain pills, no risky surgery, an all-natural solution. So take action now and live your best life this spring and summer. And with the tax refund check maybe that you're getting back, great way to spend it. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045. How you feeling about Calvin Ridley? Newest Tennessee Titans, 76 catches, 1,016 yards, and 8 touchdowns last season.
Oh, God.
Per one Mike Garafolo, the Titans are bringing back wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Akine
My God.
on a one-year deal. We got some news this morning. They signed a wide receiver, guys. Sorry, I was in the bathroom the whole first segment. What'd I miss?
NWI is back.
Go.
Official as it's going to get. Per Mike Garafolo of NFL Media. All right, interesting. There is a receiver that's currently on this roster who was on the team last year who surely is not making this team next year.
Ooh.
I'm not even speaking of one in particular. The numbers are not numbered.
I was thinking Kyle Phillips, but
it could be Kyle Phillips because you've now got Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Traylon Burks, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Phillips.
Could draft somebody.
Colton
Colton
Dowell.
coming back from ACL.
So that's 6 right there. And maybe that is your 6. But, I mean, remember how many also just kind of flyers the Titans will take, like every team takes. And then you'll have the undrafteds they'll take and everything. And then a guy they could draft. Like, if you still think the Titans are going to draft somebody, that's 7 wide receivers already right there, plus the undrafteds that'll be in the mix and other veterans that'll be on the street that you'll pick up and give an opportunity in camp.
I mean, this changes a lot. This, to me, changes the draft. Unless they're going to go after another speed guy or their type of guy through the draft. And, of course, I went on 3HL yesterday because Mason got signed, Rudolph. So I'm speaking on him and going all the way in and stuff, and then all this stuff happens. Now, to me, everything changes from here on out. As far as what I thought about the trajectory of the draft, too.
True or false, Nick Westbrook-Akine has a better chance of making the team than Traylon Burks?
That's even money.
Yeah, I think so, too.
That's even money.
Because I think they'll give Traylon at least one more shot. Unless, for some reason, I mean, he could get hurt. Yeah, let's not put that out there. I don't want to,
right.
but it's reality.
I think this eliminates the likes of Mason Kinsey probably and Kyle Phillips having to go pay, really earn it is what this does to me.
NWI is a special teams tackler.
Yep.
Yes, he is.
That's a guy that's going to do 2 jobs, and Traylon Burks is only going to do 1.
But that's also where, yes, I agree with you on that, but he's also a first rounder.
Yeah. And maybe you move him to the slot, maybe specifically where he used to be in Arkansas, and you kind of see if he's better in that spot.
I'm okay with being wrong on stuff. I was banging on the table that Deontay Johnson was not going to get traded out of Pittsburgh. He is not going to. Ain't no way I can't see. It's not in my Nostradamus vision, okay? And he got traded. Now, Will's point about who makes it and who does not make it might be a trade value situation, but that'd be some nasty work considering the great article he just had on TennesseeTitans.com, though, too. But to that point, that's the one thing I will not rule out. Is the fact that him for trade value at this point might be something that might be do it.
And it have to be a team that really does believe they could fix him. And we've talked about egos before in this league, and there are teams that believe they can fix players, they can fix coaches, whatever it might be. So it wouldn't put it out of the realm of happening, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, the way and Chef Ran, okay, whoever that is in the YouTube chat right now, okay, is exactly what I'm gonna say. He's cooking. As far as I don't know what Rand is gonna be capable of cooking up. Like legitimate, if you're telling me if that's what gets L'Jarius Sneed over here is trading Traylon Burks in that trade to me, I think that makes a whole lot of sense. But now, truthfully, with Calvin Ridley, with D-Hop, with NWI coming back, and besides D-Hop last year, NWI was probably the most clutch wide receiver on this team, if we just being real about it, too.
Yeah, if someone goes down, you can put that player in that spot, and he's been so consistent and reliable, it's hard to pass up on NWI.
Yeah, reliable. It is.
I think the people who want to throw in Traylon Burks into a trade for L'Jarius Sneed need to remember how few yards he had last year. I'm not saying it's not possible. Everything's possible. in this league if you get a team that's willing to listen. But he had 16 catches for 221 yards. Like, I know that, yes, there's incentive to get something for a guy that was a first-round pick, and Kansas City badly needs receivers. But that's not going to get you much value at all.
I think it does. I definitely think it does. They get a guy who has some potential in an offense that could work for him to being a possession type of guy. Heck, they made lemonade out of lemons with Kadarius Toney, MVS. These are the types of guys that they're capable of going out of when you look at what they do offensively. That, to me, is where if you knew they were in a position to where, one, they need a wide receiver, yes. I think you somewhat answer your own question. They needed a wide receiver. They need one, yes. And on top of that, you have an offense that is predicated on having guys that are possession-type dudes. Kelsey, having another big-body guy like Treylon Burks may be something that could be explored for them. I'm not out on that conversation. You asked the question, do I think it's possible? Yes, he could be part of a trade value, but there's no need to because he's still cheap, he's young, and he's got a lot of that potential to me still. I'm not out on what Treylon's capable of being. I just think he's caught a couple bad breaks in year 1 and year 2.
I've always said I'll give him one more year with the new staff.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair to him. I think that's something the Titans are willing to do. But then again, Rand Carthon did not draft Treylon Burks. And I think sometimes not having that attachment can make things a little easier to do if there were some, kind of talk about putting Treylon Burks in a package to bring over Snead. I don't think it will happen because the production's just not been there and he's not been able to stay on the field. But the connection with Rand, it's not 100% like that was my guy. So it does make it a talking point.
Yeah, to me, Treylon's production I don't think it takes away from him. When you look at how he's not been productive, rookie year, okay, out of shape. Let's just throw that out there if that's true or not. Seems to have been true.
Yeah.
The second year,
he came into camp in shape.
I thought he was having a good camp in Minnesota before the knee situation happened. And then he reset himself.
He had concussions, too.
And then the concussion. So I give a lot of grace right there. I know a lot of people don't. I give a lot of grace right there when it comes down to him having a big year 3.
And we're going to talk more about it at 8:20 specifically this morning. But I do think there is an opportunity to make him what he was in college and make him a big slot in certain ways. We talked about the in-breaking route. So when you get Treylon Burks running over the middle and not deep, trying to make a contested catch, he's decent. Mm-hmm. He's done a decent job. But the precedent that I will give you trade-wise, and I always think back to this, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but I do think it is valid enough to draw some similarities on what Treylon Burks' trade value would be. It's when the Eagles traded Jalen Reagor after 2 seasons to the Vikings, in my opinion.
Okay.
When the Eagles at that point had a guy in Jalen Reagor who had played 2 seasons and was coming off a year with 33 catches for 299 yards. That's very close to where Treylon Burks was last season with just over 200 yards. They got a 2023 7th-round pick and a 2024 conditional 4th-round pick.
Okay.
And conditional, like, hey, performances have to be met in order for you to get the 4th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty much all you're working with Treylon Burks is you're going to, if you just traded Treylon, get a 7 and maybe a conditional 4 or 5. I'm actually of the opinion that that's not enough value for you to let go of him. Like, I think you keep him and see what an offensive mind can do with him. I'm not insinuating you should trade him at all in the Snead thing, because I'm against putting him in a package for L'Jarius Snead. But just to give you the precedent of, I think, what his value would be, I think Jalen Reagor is a pretty good comp of a first-round pick wide receiver who had not met expectations through 2 seasons of his career.
Okay, so does this team get better with Treylon being here or better with L'Jarius Snead, though, too, is what you got to ask yourself.
Well, they get better in different ways, and that's what Brian Callahan has to figure out. And if he really does mean it when he says, I'd rather have as many playmakers as possible who can put the ball in the end zone, then I think you'd probably lean towards just keeping a first-round pick, intangible speed, size, strength wide receiver.
That's fair. I get you there. I get you that one. It's just the move yesterday with Calvin Ridley, I think changed so much more.
So let's talk about Calvin Ridley, because we had spoken about him quite a bit going into the offseason. I have liked the option just in terms of a deep threat and an outside receiver and a guy who could be a number one depending on the matchup. Randy Mueller wrote in The Athletic about the big weakness when it comes to Calvin Ridley, his drops and his hands. And I think it's interesting that Randy Mueller, former NFL GM who writes for The Athletic, who has been on this show quite a bit, has Ridley as his top wide receiver and loves Calvin Ridley in free agency. He wrote on The Athletic yesterday, he is explosive, can separate against man-to-man coverage, and has the instinct to find open areas in zones. He will be the Titans' number one option, and I love that he still has the upside, Mueller writes, to develop as a player at age 29. Inopportune drops have reared their head occasionally. But Randy Mueller writes, that is more about concentration than Ridley lacking hands or ball skills. Had 76 catches, 49 first downs receiving in 2023. He writes, his speed will make teams defend the Titans differently, which should pay dividends for their run game.
Man, that's some high praise there from Randy Mueller, who we know well on the show, and he's not afraid to give his, negative thoughts about players either. So I get the hand drop thing, and it's not something that's technically, just because he can't hold on to balls, it's because it's a thought thing. And I get that with Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley has been, talked about in the past when he had some time in Atlanta, and there was some stuff going on there, and the gambling thing happened, and he had the one season where he didn't play. I think it was 2021. 22. He played 5 games in 2021 and then didn't play in 2022 because of that suspension, which, by the way, you should actually because add that a year on to his NFL life expansion because he did not play that year. But I just loved the response last year by this guy. That told me something about Calvin Ridley, the player, and the mind of Calvin Ridley, because you could have easily said, okay, I took a year off. I got a contract. I'm with the Jags now. And I know you got to show what you can do. But at the same time, I feel like he proved to us he could be that receiver he was before that 2021 season, which was a solid guy in Atlanta. He was the dude. So I think I liked the response from him last year in Jacksonville and coming off of a year where he didn't play at all. And he mentioned the ability to separate from coverage. He's an excellent route runner. You've got a little of the speed there. When you look at what he did against the Titans last year, you guys, he burned them in both games. He had over 100 yards in both games. He had 2 touchdowns in that first game against the Titans, another touchdown. It's well, you might as well bring him on the squad if you can't beat him. So I think this is going to be a great addition with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who has also got a ton of experience. We saw a productive year out of him with over 1,000 yards. And it almost makes me look at guys like what Brian Callahan had in Cincinnati with the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins type of situation. You've got your 1 and 2, and that's kind of what I see in a Ridley 1, DeAndre Hopkins kind of 2 situation here in Tennessee now.
He did have a big drop in the home game as well.
Yeah, he did. That's right. That's right, he did.
You saw the good and the bad of Calvin Ridley last season. Rex asks in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, are y'all forgetting Chris Moore? No, we are not. He is a free agent.
He is still.
It was a free agent. That was a 1-year deal last year. Looking back at my notes, man, when it came down to the Jags' first time around, and I have on here from Scout Meeting Wednesday, Calvin Ridley, the commitment was worth it. That was the first thing I ended up saying. And as far as you saying, all right, let's get a guy, sign him, and see what he turns into, he turned into exactly what you wanted him to. In a room full of other playmakers, too, in a building full of other playmakers, too, you got to realize, too, Christian Kirk was their premier guy. You know what I'm saying? As far as everything was considered about him, and it ended up being the Calvin Ridley show down there. And on top of that, Evan Ingram. I think the thing that you would love about this signing, at least on the surface level, before we get to the season, everything has to handle itself. Brian Callahan learning the playbook and stuff like that. When you have playmakers, an abundance of playmakers, or a few playmakers, I think there are probably 1 or 2 left as far as what this team should be capable of, right? But it opens up opportunities for other guys. I never forget being in Jacksonville, watching that man do work, Calvin Ridley do work against his team. It was almost child's play. It really was. Now, I know the secondary wasn't the greatest highlight for this team last year, too, but that's what you're supposed to do when you're playing against teams that don't have a good secondary. You're supposed to make them into child's play. But here's the thing. Evan Ingram, 8. Okay? Christian Kirk still got his. Jamal Agnew, 8 down there in the role that he was playing. And on top of that, it opened up the run game for a guy that's very similar to a dude here in Nashville. Talking about, of course, Travis Etienne. You have the ability when you got a guy like Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins and maybe Traylon Burks too with the growth that he's capable of having, that it spreads defenses out. Mm-hmm. It has the ability to keep the entire playbook open if you stay ahead of the chains. But here's the thing that you have now. If you get behind the chains, let's go second and 12. You can get 8 yards back and make it a very manageable third down with these guys that you have that have the ability and have shown they can get open. D-Hop was 30-plus last year.
Yeah.
And he cooked guys with extended first down situations. That's what you're looking for. How many first downs and how many times can we move the chains? And this guy, Calvin Ridley, is a chain mover.
And I think, let's just mention real quick, Will Levis still has to be Will Levis. Will Levis has to improve. Will Levis now has weapons. He has way better things in the cupboard than he did last year. And I think Calvin Ridley can make him a better quarterback as well. But Will Levis has to take steps forward, no doubt about it, else it's not going to work.
In the F&M Big Chat, Chuck writes in on Facebook. Appreciate you watching, Chuck. Says, don't forget the Nick Holtz effect on Ridley.
Yes.
Now, the Titans offensive coordinator, who was the passing game coordinator in Jacksonville.
Sure is. There's a double connection there.
Yep.
Hey, man, look at this franchise robbing other teams out of the AFC South.
I love it. Because we saw it in Houston. They're taking Titans.
Yeah.
Got an AFC South shuffle.
Have to.
Send in your thoughts on Calvin Ridley, 615-737-1045, and tell us what you think. We'll take a look at that contract and what PFF has to say about the Titans' new receiver coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural System, y'all. For March, I'm telling y'all, we're going to get more rain. I think we're getting some this weekend, next week also, man. And it saturates the ground. When it gets warm and it saturates the ground, it doesn't freeze back up. That water can hit your walls and cause your basement walls to bow in, cause leakage through your foundation if you don't have a good foundation in place. But I'm here to tell you, with United Structural Systems, if you do need foundation repair or waterproofing work done, you always have a peace of mind knowing United Structural System provides an honest diagnosis and stand by their work and warranties too, which is huge. USS is based right here in Middle Tennessee and are members of our community. And USS has been in business for 25 plus years and they aren't going anywhere. This is who you want doing your repair work, and this is who you want to call if you ever need to use a warranty with them or have some work done as far as waterproofing and foundation repair. USS, they've been keeping homes dry and stable for over 25 years, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. And you can reach them online at USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW is brewed up by Ain't the Roast on 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045. If you'd like to tell us how you're feeling about your new wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. 4 years, $92 million, $23 million a year, $50 million total guaranteed. For those who say that is an overpay, Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, how do you respond?
Yeah, nah.
That got me mad last night.
What?
That people are people attacking the Titans because they paid him a bag. Yeah. Get over it. Yeah. Because it's the Tennessee Titans? Because they're not the major market? Because they're not New York? They're not New England? That they're going to get hit at because they gave a wide receiver who rightfully last season specifically proved he deserves a bag. Like Christian Kirk got a bag when he went to Jacksonville. And at the time, maybe they caught a little flack for giving him the bag. How did that turn out? Turned out pretty damn well, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think they got a lot of flack for that.
And they did, because guess what? They're also a small market who gets poo-pooed on a lot. But for all these analysts and all these big wigs who want to sit there and chime in on that, guess what? He'll be like the 13th or 14th highest paid at the end of all of this.
Yeah.
That to me means nothing. The Tennessee Titans are resetting their franchise. They're resetting an offense that needed to be reset. And when you reset something like that, you have to go out and you have to get weapons. And guess what? In this day and age especially, you have to pay them a bag. And guess what? They have bags to give out. So shut up.
Yeah.
I had to do that this morning because I was going off last night on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was so mad to see those things.
No doubt about it. That to me signifies they had to pay the price of doing business. He already had two contenders, it seems like, the Jags, his home team, and also the Patriots. The price is what it is. The guy's proven that he can play. He's had, at this point right now, 2 1,000-yard seasons. Not like he's not a proven commodity. He understands what he is as a player, and you understand what his tape looks like, too. Mm-hmm. I don't see a big issue with a guy like this. He'll be 30 at the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, December 20th is when he turns 30. Atlanta was on the verge of him getting the bag before the suspension came down from him. And, of course, to be able to bounce back from this, I'll say this. I don't have a problem with the money being paid out. I didn't listen to it, but I heard Buck had a long dialogue about why you have to pay the price of doing this too. Mm-hmm. And I fully understand what he was saying and get why too. If you don't get a dude like him, you're relying on young guys. You're relying on dudes who are unproven, don't have much leadership, or D-Hop in a situation where we'll just double him. Or, hey, D-Hop, you can eat, but you won't kill us. Like, this gives you multiple weapons right here. So the money, to me, is what the market suggests. It's about $23 million average, right?
That's correct.
It's less still, I think, than what AJ got. It is wide receiver money, wide receiver one money. This is the price of paying. Now, here's the other part where I've been trying to preface people and just warn people of. The cap raised.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're seeing guys who are backup linemen get $3-4 million to not really play but 200 snaps a year. Mm-hmm. That used to be about $800,000 even 2 years ago. The price of doing business has raised up. I think you paid appropriate for what the market suggests for a guy that's capable of doing the things that he does. He was the best wide receiver left on the market as far as I'm concerned, and there wasn't a whole lot of motion when it comes down to signing big-time guys anyway. You look at what Mike Evans got. Still a bargain. I mean, that's what we're
Mike's
talking about
32,
here.
33?
Now, Mike's resume is a whole lot different.
Yeah, it is. Okay? It is a whole lot different.
It's a whole lot different.
I agree.
But when it comes down to your team paying out and having an offensive-minded coach and coordinator that can handle these type of players, it's not like you're getting them and you're sending them to the Wolves.
Mike Evans is 30, by the way, real quick.
Oh,
Mike
is
Evans,
he really?
30.
God, I thought he was older than that.
But as far as the amount of years, there's a difference in that one, isn't it? Yes, it is. Mike Evans is how many years in?
2. Well, he's a 2-year deal.
A 2-year deal on this one. You needed a signing like Calvin Ridley at this price to, one, show everybody else that you're serious, but he is a playmaker. If I'm with you on that, had he signed to anybody else, everybody would have been saying this is a great deal.
Of course they would have.
Mike Evans got a 3-year deal, but the way it's structured, it's essentially 2 for $41.
Okay.
Is what it is basically with the options and the way the money is set up. There is an idea out there nationally that the Titans aren't a legitimate franchise, so they don't deserve nice things. And that's ridiculous. It's bogus. And it's the people that want to make comments like, oh, it's the same team that wouldn't pay A.J. Brown that now wants to pay Calvin Ridley. It's almost like that's why everyone got fired. But I think the biggest thing is when you're not a contender and you have a ton of cap space, you have to pay a premium. When you go shop for a car and you pull up and you're already driving a really nice car, and the salesperson quickly knows that you've got the money to spend to buy the high-end vehicle. You can walk off the lot with the nicest thing on the lot. They're not going to try to sell you a used car with 100,000 miles on it. That agent is going to try to sell you the most expensive thing that they've got the second they realize that you've got enough zeros in your bank account to buy whatever you want. It is the exact same way in free agency. If you go into a negotiation with the second most cap space of the NFL according to Spot Track, agents aren't stupid. They know how much you have to spend, and they know how far you are away from contending. Buck calls it on Twitter the "we suck" tax. I'm not going to go as far as to call it that. But when you are not a contender and when you are setting the market and when you are going for the guy, yeah, you got to overpay. That's part of professional sports. Where the Titans have to be more creative than maybe they were is to front load a lot of the cap hits within these deals. That way, if Will Levis becomes the guy, these cap hits are already largely done. The guaranteed money's on the front end. And you've got an opportunity to then still be ahead of the cap with those players still playing as older veterans within your team. That's where the Titans have to do some gymnastics that I think maybe they weren't doing in the past. And COVID messed all that up as well, where you had a lot of restructures and you had Ryan Tannehill playing on one of the highest cap hits in the league last year. You no longer have to deal with that. You no longer have to pay a running back as much as you were against the cap. Tony Pollard's cap hit in 2024, we learned yesterday, is $4 million. So these are things you can do when you're not paying a quarterback and a running back, and you're paying a pretty good running back, a good amount of money, but not a great amount of money. 615-737-1045. More reaction on the other side, plus the context from Diana Rossini of The Athletic about how the Calvin Ridley deal went down for the Tennessee Titans next.
What's going on? 7 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. New league year, who this? The Titans made a bevy of moves yesterday, keeping their own and bringing in some big names, but we'll start with the splash as the Titans steal Calvin Ridley from the Jags, signing a 4-year, $92 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Last year in Jacksonville, Ridley hauled in 76 receptions for 1,016 yards and 8 touchdowns. Titans also adding Mason Rudolph, who started 13 games for the Steelers over 4 years and started 3 games last year, going 3-0 when starting for the injured Kenny Pickett. And the Folk hero returns. Nick Folk signing a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. Folk went 29 of 30 on field goals last year, with his only miss coming from 50-plus, leading the league in field goal percentage at 96.7. And the SEC tournament yesterday, Georgia over Missouri, 64-59. Arkansas took down Vanderbilt in overtime, 90-85. 4 games today, starting with Mississippi State and LSU at noon. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast, Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Titans Radio's head coach will join us in 20 minutes. Coach Dave McGinnis. Coming up later in the show, Bert Bertelkamp of the Vol Network. We add a second Bert into the mix. Talking free agency money and then also just talking about the guy that says money. After a three-pointer goes in for Tennessee. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, Will Bowling. Streaming live at 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
Let's go to Alvin in Nashville. First up on the phones, where you can give your reaction to the Calvin Ridley signing. What's up, Alvin?
What up, Alvin?
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Great.
Good.
Hey,
Yeah.
got 2 horns.
Let's go.
What I wanted to hit on really was so much about. I'm glad we got Calvin Ridley. It's showing that we're going to more of a passing offense, no more just run, pass. But I wanted to hit on as far as what do y'all think about the draft, because I really feel like we can trade maybe up to 13 as well, like Las Vegas. I know they need a quarterback. We can trade up and maybe take Brock Bowers. I know everybody wants Joe Ald and, Shano and all that stuff. But my thing is, when you got OLJ, O-line Jesus over there, I think we can do a little bit more. And my last question for you ladies and gentlemen, with the Calvin Ridley signing, how many more big signers, like as far as Eric Armstead, Justin Simmons, DJ Reader, guys like that, how many more big signings can we do with the money we got left? I'll hang up the list.
Great question.
The money question I'll start with, because I think the answer is we have no idea, because we don't have contract details yet on how much cap space they have and how much these contracts are going to take up against the cap. So for that, I don't think they're done. I don't think they're close to being done, to be honest with you. But I can't tell you how much money they have left because we don't have contract details for all of them. So
I would think at least one more, and this is just me, guessing on this because you're right. We don't have details. I would say they at least have to make one more big free agency signing on defense.
I think it's probably 3 or 4 more on defense, honestly.
In terms of money, though, like the big money.
Yeah.
Because
I don't
you've
know how much they
got
have.
Justin Simmons, Jerome Baker, Chase Young, who are all in the mix. And Jerome Baker is visiting the Titans today.
That's what I want to see.
According to reports, the outstanding coverage linebacker from Miami. But again, if he's only getting $8 to $9 million a year,
then you could do.
If you really like, Tony Pollard's on $8 million a year, the total value of his contract and his cap hit for this season is $4 million. So it just depends on how much gymnastics they want to play with the salary cap and with the guaranteed money versus, spread out money and game checks over the next couple seasons.
Yeah, that's where I think a Chase Young, I think a DJ Reader, and of course Jerome Baker. I think if you get one of those three, if you get two of those three, you really cooking. Like if you get Chase and you also get Jerome Baker, I'm of the mindset, ticket sales should go up.
And Justin Simmons in there too.
And I mean, seriously.
If you got three,
and if you can, like seriously, and right now it seems like every time this news cycle gets super quiet for the Titans, there's another news break.
It's like boom.
Like for real, it really does. I like the way they're operating with the sense that it's not a whole lot of speculation. It's just stuff getting done, and that's where I think you change a whole lot of everything that we've seen operate here in Nashville as of late, and that's where to me. When you mention these signings, especially if you already get that linebacker, and let's say you go get that edge too, and Chase Young, I just want to throw his name out there too. Chase Young, you get him. It gives you so much more flexibility. I'm with Alvin just a second ago. I think if you move back and pass on a Joe Alt, and I know I'm hear from a lot of people, my tone changed yesterday with the signing of Calvin Ridley. It did. I think if you're of the mindset that you want scores, you want playmakers. I said it on 3HL yesterday, and I got to say it here also. When it comes down to looking for playmakers and a unique piece, Brock Bowers has entered the conversation for me. I said it yesterday, and I'm going to stand by that one on the basis that, look, especially if you move back, and we don't know what that's going to look like right now, but even at 7, I say to myself, I like the idea of a Brock Bowers being incorporated in this offense. And you already got 2 or 3 tight ends that you like, right? You like Chig. You like what you think you're going to get out of Josh Wiley. But when it comes down to Wiley also, injury after injury last year, is that something that's going to go away in year 2? The fact that we didn't see that, we don't know. And again, when you look at how they move, Rand and Brian Callahan chose not to go to Georgia. And, of course, deals were getting done, number one. But I got a feeling that a workout with Amarius Mims or Brock Bowers is something that they're going to end up having in their 30 visits.
30 visits.
Yes. And when you look at the way this team can be structured and what Brian Callahan has come from himself, they've dealt with this situation where you go for a playmaker instead of protection. And then you also still have the luxury of picking high in the second round, too. If they do go tight end, and then they go tackle in the second round, there's still quality there. There is a dive from the elite guys like Fashanu and Joe Alt. But if you trust what Bill Callahan's capable of, Brock Bowers has entered the conversation for me. Ain't no other way around. And this is the other pro part, and I'm going to get off. Team protection, sacks, protecting the quarterback is not just the boys up front. It is team protection. Mm-hmm. It is the offensive coordinator
said that.
It's also the offensive coordinator been smart enough, knowing where your weak spots are, knowing when to use a running back and chipping. It's not just the O-line. It's called protection, but it's also considered team protection. And for me, if he's dealt with it already in Cincinnati, he knows what it looked like to actually manage games when it comes down to if you have a deficiency at one spot. And again, I don't know what MPF is going to look like under Bill Callahan. I don't know what Dylan Radin is going to look like. Those are only few guys we know as far as playing tackle on this team. And, of course, Dillard. Get his $3 million, too, by the way. He did not get cut.
He did not. A good reminder there.
That actually is not a thing, apparently, from Twitter. So overthecap.com has said, and we talked about this with the Chargers, that money goes over this upcoming weekend.
So
it's
he can
5 days after the league year is what I think Zach Lyons of F Words Pod on Twitter was talking about. So no, Andre Dillard did not get that money yesterday.
Okay.
5 days.
But he would by Monday if we don't hear anything?
I believe it would have to be over the weekend,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. Even better then.
That's fair.
And it's $3 million. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. $3 billion. In NFL, that's nothing.
I'm not totally bothered by the Dillard thing. Diana Orsini yesterday said the Titans put themselves in position to land Calvin Ridley starting last night, and this was tweeted last night, so that would have been Tuesday night. She wrote, I am told both sides stayed in contact and with Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan's focus on landing the best receiver available. They moved, offering the best deal to Ridley of any team. That's a heck of a lot better than watching a pro day in Athens that didn't even have Brock Bowers or Amarius Mims on the field.
Yeah, because those were the guys that if you're, especially the Titans, you're interested in looking at. Yeah. So I props to them for making, that's the other part of it. They didn't go to the Senior Bowl. They chose to put together the staff. Look at how the staff turned out. Now, they've got to go out there and win games as a staff and players, develop them. But the staff looks pretty damn good. They decided, hey, we're going to stay back here. We're going to cook a little. We're going to add a little spice and a little Ridley surprise. And look at what's come out of yesterday after a quiet day the day before of free agency stuff, which it wasn't official yet at that point.
And the other part, too, about the signings yesterday, too, or the commitments to the signings, too, is the backup position to a quarterback. That's one thing you have to say. You got a veteran that's not going to be in the way of Will Levis to me, but somebody that's there to support him, too. And if he goes down, Will Levis, with a pinky or something like that, and you can't play a week, at least you have a veteran-type guy that can help you be sustainable and stay above board as far as managing games in a backup role. We saw them do this past year in Cincinnati, right? When we were watching their backup quarterback situation. Jake Browning make a market for himself almost. And that's what you want as a franchise is, hey, where is our weak points at and how can we minimize that? I think you somewhat help that out when it comes down to the signing of Mason, but even more so the weapons that you're providing the quarterback with. Like, again, every good quarterback I've ever been around, I've heard a GM say this recently also, you can brag about how great quarterbacks are, from Peyton to Breeze to Tom Brady to all the guys that you deem as great, but they're only as good as their weapons. Like, every single one of them had great weapons. Steve Young, great weapons. Like, look at the history of guys who've been studs of just playmakers. Only situation I think as a one-off would probably be Trent Dilfer.
You don't think Tom Brady, you think he had a ton of, he had like Gronk, but he didn't have like a plethora of them.
Single-handedly, but he also made stars, though, too.
That's
Brady's uniqueness of what he had, I think, is pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT. There's no other comparison to him. But just look at everybody else that they've had and the stars they made. Edelman. Just look at him. Hogan. Like, all the guys they had. Plus, the other side of Tom Brady, to me, is he had a monstrous defense and special teams that helped him out. So he might not have had the players, but he had the team structure of supporting him also.
Coming up next, we bring Titans Radio's head coach into the discussion. When Coach Mack looks at the tape on Calvin Ridley, what does he see? He'll tell us next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Nashville Predators. Here to tell you, man, Nashville is getting hot, but it's going to be even hotter with a big Saturday night in Smashville as the Preds continue their march towards clinching a spot in the playoffs. On Saturday, March 23rd, you can see the Preds take on the Detroit Red Wings at 4 p.m. at Bridgestone Arena. Plus, join the Preds for a Ford Military Week honoring active and retired military heroes. You can get your tickets for the game at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. But also this, never miss any games when you secure season tickets, which just went on sale for the 24 and 25 season. This year, the Preds are giving you, yes, a jersey with your tickets, plus a ton of other great benefits. So log in those tickets at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone. It is a great day to talk with Titans Radio's head coach. And all of our visits with Coach Dave McGinnis are brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, Middle Tennessee's most trusted local Ford dealership for 40 years. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh making the show go. I'm Will Bowling as we connect with Coach Mack right now. I'll tell you who is as popular as Coach Mack is a man by the name of Ron Slay when he is at the SEC tournament.
Ooh, he brings it.
The people that were going up to the SEC set yesterday. Ron, can I take a picture with you, Ron? Ron, can I have your autograph?
Yeah.
Car ain't got no roof, Ron. I took a video of it yesterday.
Suit too.
Yeah.
Looks sharp.
Yeah.
He looked sharp. He really did, man. I'm calling Nashville Slayville this week.
That's
I
great.
like it.
Ain't no other way around.
SEC Slate.
So, wait,
Yep.
no. Music Slady.
Yeah. Either way, I'm telling you, I'm good with it. He said even his SEC network partners was like, Ron, what you got going on down here?
We're joined now by Coach Dave McGinnis, someone who certainly knows what it's like to be known wherever he goes. Coach Mack, before we got you on, we just said that Slay is kind of like you this week at the SEC tournament with the amount of people flocking around him yesterday.
Let me tell you something about Ron Slay. I had Dawn send me a picture. I talked to him yesterday when I did their show of his salmon suit. The dude is sharp, and he said he had a suit laid out for every day on the bed, and I said it better be a long bed because those are long suits.
Coach Mack, presented by Two Rivers Ford here on the show with tons to discuss this week. Coach Mack, Calvin Ridley reportedly becoming a Tennessee Titan yesterday. What do you like the most about what he can add to this offense?
Well, he's a producer. You're seeing the genesis of what this offense is going to be. The philosophy. Start with a running back. Look, Brian Callahan told everybody what he was going to do if you'll just listen. And again, there are a lot of things that go on during free agency, guys, and it is the ultimate. If you know what you're doing, keep your powder dry moment where you have a plan. And you sit back and you don't blow a horn really loud when you're getting ready to do something. You just sit and wait, and then you make it work. But look, Calvin Ridley is a nice piece. He's a nice piece to what they're trying to do offensively. They're not done yet, and they're not done yet. And I say they're not done yet because there's still talent acquisition period and money left in free agency, depending on what you want to do. Let me give just real quick a little bit of salary cap 101 here. You understand with the new collective bargaining agreements, the salary cap, when it came into being, used to have a ceiling, but it never had a floor. And what I'm saying is it never had a minimum that you had to spend. In today's National Football League, Ramon, you were a player rep. In today's National Football League, whatever the cap is, it's over, what is it, $255 million this year? Whatever that cap is, each team must spend in cash on salaries at least 89% of that cap in a 4-year period. The league as an aggregate, all 32 teams together in a 4-year period, and that continues to roll forward as the cap continues to increase, has to spend 95% of what the aggregate cap is for all 32 teams. Understand what I'm saying? So what the thing about it is, used to be with the cap, when the cap went up before there was ever a CBA, there was a ceiling to keep everybody from doing, what Steinbrenner and the Yankees did, outspend each other club. Now what you have, but they put in now a floor. And then now it's 89% through a 4-year period. That's why you see the cap manipulations. And so just understand, it costs money in the National Football League to play the game. This is the price of doing business.
Coach Mack at Titans Radio, presented by Two Rivers Ford here on the show. Coach Mack, I saw this from Teron Davenport just a few minutes ago that Calvin Ridley's 768 receiving yards on the perimeter ranked 5th in the NFL on passes thrown outside the numbers a season ago. The Titans were bottom 5 in that category on passes thrown outside the numbers last season. What about his skill set makes him so good at getting open outside?
Well, he's like D-Hop. He can set people up. He can get open, and he catches it. He can get open, and he catches it. You need various types of players if you're going to put the ball in the air. You talk about throwing outside the numbers. You got a quarterback now that can use all 53 1/3 yards width-wise on the field. He can get it there. And it's going to be schemed up to get him the ball. Look, you need pieces. And this, what you're getting now and what you have a chance to do in free agency, I know you guys know this, and this is for all of our listeners and for all of our fans. You try to get different pieces that have different skill sets. That's the way you get a multiple offense set up. That's what they're in the process of doing. It's still going to take talent acquisition periods to get it exactly like they want it, but they've got a really nice start at it. Just sit back and let them work.
Coach Mack, when it comes down to this type of signing, what does it do for your team offensively now when you have a guy like him that's been proven? Yes, he'll be 30 at the end of this year. But as far as the offensive scheme goes, Coach Mack, how much more of a threat will it actually contribute to the run game and other players getting open with the signing of Ridley?
Well, they're getting varied weapons, and any multiple offense in the National Football League has got various weapons that you use. Everybody doesn't do the same thing, but everybody does work within the context of what the offense is to be able to move the football, and that's what you do. You put complementary pieces together. You don't have all of the same, you're not running the same horses in the race. You've got to have it offensively in the National Football League today. To attack multiple defenses, you have to have multiple ways to attack them, and you do that with multiple skill sets of your offensive players. And I count offensive linemen as skilled players. You've got to be able to have guys up front that can handle all the various things that are going to happen. They're still going to work on that also, guys. This is not just a one-time thing. You understand this team is in a reset mode now as to where they're trying to lay a foundation moving forward. I've been through rebuilds in my coaching career. Been through rebuilds. I mean, everybody wants to jump all over Houston, and what they've done is great, but you understand 3 years prior to them having success this year, they won 11 games. 11 games in 3 years. I'm not good at math, but that's not a lot every year. But in doing that, 11 games in 3 years they won. They got the top 5 pick in every round for 3 years. And then plus they had money to spend. That's why the National Football League, I promise you, the 4 of us could get together. You give me the top 5 pick for 3 years in a row in 3 rounds and a quarterback on a rookie deal, I'll get it rolling.
Absolutely, Coach Mack. Speaking of getting it rolling, too, these signings that we've seen, you've got offensive line, you got defense, you've got wide receiver, right? Does this change the draft board, Coach Mack? How much flexibility now with Calvin Ridley and knowing that you got D-Hop coming back, does this change your draft board or what your targets are? And I know there's other moves to be made, but do you give yourself more flexibility now?
Well, let's say this, and don't lose sight of this, because the Titans group that's working this, they've not lost sight of this either. You supplement your football team through free agency. You build your football team through the draft. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So it's 2 different types of talent acquisition modes, but they're interconnected. But you also have to be able to work. They have to work independently of one another in the fact of what you're trying to get out of it. You supplement your team with free agency. That's why it was set up like that. But if you're going to build a franchise that's going to be competitive every year, and by competitive I mean winning your division, because that's what you're looking to do, win a division and get in the tournament, you've got to build it through the draft. So they still have work to do. There's still a lot of work to do, but does it give you – it gives you flexibility for 1 year, but you're not – just like you're not setting up these contracts for 1 year mostly, you're setting up the talent acquisition periods that go together to build a franchise through a period of time. And so it's different doing it with the draft, because now you have guys on rookie contracts that you can supplement around when you go start working with free agency. So they're both interdependent of each other, and they're both dependent upon each other. It's a synergy that you have to be able to work. So you don't just say, well, we've got this, now we go get this, because it's not just a 1-year shot that you're looking for.
Coach Mack on RKW with us this morning. When it comes to the first edition in free agency, we heard about Tony Pollard on his way here to the Music City. How does this change up the backfield, Coach? And just, I look at it as unpredictable, right? Which is a good thing for a Titans offense and a bad thing for opposing defenses.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about this. You've got a veteran, and then you've got a second-year player that has similar skill sets. But now you're going to be able to run your offense, okay, from, lengthwise and widthwise and 3-down-wise, regardless of who's in the game. Regardless of who's in the game. That's the key phrase on this. Regardless of who's in the game. So now, I coached defense for a long time in this league before I started this broadcasting career. And I do know this. When you are getting ready to play, when you're looking at an offense and you can say by who's ever in the ball game personnel wise, we can narrow down some things that we're going to have to defend. I can take away some of these things out of my mind as a defensive game planner and a defensive signal caller, because they're not going to run this out of this personnel group. Now, this type of thing with the running backs, to your point, Kayla, everything is on the table, and that's a plus.
When it comes to Treylon Burks and his role this upcoming season, now that you add a Calvin Ridley, you have DeAndre Hopkins. We saw him a lot in the slot when he was at Arkansas. Do you see that maybe shift here in this offense and his role maybe moved more towards that with these two guys on the outside?
I don't know yet. I mean, we don't know that yet. We won't know it. I mean, I like to say things that I think I've got a pretty good idea of, when I'm talking to our people. And that's what I try to do with the fans, is be as honest as I can with. I don't know. We're going to see. But it's going to be up to him in his third season as to how big of a piece of this he wants to be. That's going to be up to him.
And one more thing with NWI, Nicholas Petit Frere. No, that is actually Nick Westbrook-Akine that we're talking about. So he's brought back, and we've seen he's been such a consistent piece here. I know people have their thoughts and opinions on this. It might be a boring, signing, bringing him back. I look at it as it's consistent. If someone goes down, he's reliable. What's your thoughts on this signing, Coach, and keeping him here?
You've got to have belly pieces to your team. And understand what I say about belly pieces. It's just like exclusive rights tendering, Dr. Gibby. It's just you've got to have belly pieces to your team. Everybody has a role to play. All this guy's done is done everything he's ever been asked of since he's been here. Those are the kind of players you build the belly of your team with. You've got different tiers of players, and it takes all those different types to really build a roster. And so I like it.
Coach Mack at Titans Radio, our guest, as he is every Thursday morning at 7:20, courtesy of Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, with linebacker Kenneth Murray, the athletic scores and the 40 and the strength, the athleticism off the charts with him, what will Frank Bush try to do to put him in the best position to be successful? How do you think the Titans can use an athlete like him?
Well, I mean, he's played behind the ball, in the National Football League. I mean, I remember betting him coming out, as you said, physical skills. But let me just say this. As much as we're talking about, and I don't like to put things on coaches. I was a coach for years. I understand the expectations that come with it. And as much as we talk about Bill Callahan, what he can do developing players, you understand Frank Bush is the OG of linebacker coaches in this league. He's been coaching defense in this league for 31 years. Most of it either as a linebacker coach, he's coached the secondary, he's been a coordinator. This guy, I know this guy. I know I've been in the rooms with him for 5 years and watched him develop linebackers of all different ilks. So whatever the best Murray has, Frank Bush will be able to get it out of him.
Coach Mack, Chidobe Awuzie, a guy that had some good things last season coming off of a torn ACL. When you watch him, what stands out?
Well, he's got some length, and he's sticky, and I like the fact that he improved. everybody wants to think that these guys are just robots that they get operated on, and you go in there and you put the scope in, and all of a sudden 2 days later they come out and they're going to be brand new again. Not the way it works. Not the way it works. And that's why you see everybody, and people will say it. They'll say the words out of their mouth, but they really don't want to believe it. Is that it takes time on task once you've had a surgery to be able to come back and be who you were. I mean, we're talking about a Wouzier, but let's not forget, let's just go clear back to Peter Skoronski last year that had surgery in the middle of the season, lost weight, and it takes, look, this is a grueling game. But his skill set, I like it, because this is a guy that you can put on the outside. You could play match with him, but also he's played and he understands what it takes to play out there. And you've got time on task evidence of what these guys can do. That's why you target people when you go after them. You don't just say, well, this is the name that I like. You grind film on these guys to see how they can fit into what you do. I like that signing.
Coach Mack, one thing we always speak about in the NFL is not showing your tendencies of being predictable. The signing of Tony Pollard and also having a young running back right now in the building, Coach Mack, that do similar things, how much does that help your offense when it comes down to that complexion of what this backfield now looks like?
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'm looking forward to this because this is the first iteration of what Bill Callahan and Rand Carthon are building here. But offensively speaking, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And what I'm excited about seeing is the development of Will Levis with these weapons now within a system now that has proven to be fairly quarterback efficient.
Yeah, big time, Coach Mack.
Okay. I can't leave out the special teamers because Ryan Stonehouse tweeted yesterday, the gang is back together. I think it's huge, especially when you've got your long snapper and Morgan Cox, you've got your punter and Ryan Stonehouse, and now you got Nick Folk back. That's a big thing in terms of special teams, right, Coach?
Let me just say this, and I know that we're on terrestrial radio, so I got to be careful what I say. Hell yes, it is. Those three are as good as there are in the league. As good as there are in the league. That's it.
Boom.
Coach Mack, as good as there is in the league as well, joining us every Thursday at 7:20, courtesy of our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, thank you as always. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Always a pleasure. Let's keep this thing rolling. Can't wait to see what Ron Slay's wearing tonight.
There you go. Thank you, Coach Mack.
Thanks, Kid.
Appreciate you, Coach.
With us every Thursday here at 7:20. 615-737-1045. How you jump in? We've got rule proposals in the NFL, and I think the Steelers, unfortunately, made the best proposal. We'll talk about that next.
It's Ramon Foster for Artisan Custom Closets. Man, I'm telling you, go ahead and get a jump on your spring cleaning and transform your home into an oasis of calm with Artisan Custom Closets. Say goodbye to the clutter and hello to custom storage solutions that are made to suit you, your style, and your budget. If you're tired of unorganized chaos in your closet, garage, or office space, let the expert designers at Artisan Custom Closets help you get organized in any space in your home, from walk-in closets to pantries, garages, or laundry rooms. Artisan Custom Closets is local, and it's not a large chain business. Not only is it local, but the products are manufactured in the Southeast, and it's not a cookie-cutter items, but customized to your home. So start with their free in-house consultation and take advantage of the multiple financing options also to making getting organized easier than ever. You can schedule your consultation now to bring some calm and get organized. You can call them at 615-800-2199 or visit artisancustomclosets.com to book your appointment.
RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will is brewed by 8th and Rose on 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045. We've got Titans news as they have scheduled a visit with a veteran starter on defense. Stop me if you've heard that before.
Oh.
Because they are hosting Jerome Baker today and scheduled to host Chase Young tomorrow. Former Saints safety Marcus May, according to The Athletic's Diana Rossini, is drawing interest from several teams, and he will visit the Titans on Monday, a source tells her. Marcus May is 30 years old. He was a second-round pick of the New York Jets in 2017, and he was a member of the New York Jets when a man by the name of Denard Wilson was the defensive backs coach of the New York Jets. So a connection there for Denard Wilson in New York with a veteran safety who has dealt with injuries and did not play a full season last year and goes into his age 30 season. Just had his 30th birthday last week.
You know what this does as far as just kicking the tires on a guy like Marcus May, too, is for a new defensive coordinator who's getting his first team here for Denard Wilson, you get guys that understand his system that can also teach his system to other players, too. Help somewhat speed up the process. So, yes, he has been injured for a couple of years as of late, but you get teachers, you get guys that understand what the expectations are and how you pass off your message. So whether he's a very impactful player or he's a guy that's somewhat you say we're getting on the bargain, and I understand what he can do for Amani Hooker. I understand what he can do for the rest of this young secondary and how you move forward. That, to me, is a safe pick to me, and I don't think it'll be overly expensive. I just think you get some veteran experience that teaches and help this defense grow because, again, it is a new DNA. I think with how you got to look at what everything that Shane Bowen left is out the window. I don't think this is a transition of, hey, we'll just pick up on what you guys did. No, this is the Denard Wilson show. I think everybody that he can bring in that can help pass that message on and set the standard, I think is what the benefit of signing a guy or at least bringing him in. And whatever happens as far as injury goes, hey, we'll see. But if you get him at a low ticket, low price, I'll live in that world to say, hey, at least I know I got somebody that understands what we're trying to do here.
A lot of the safeties on the market still are a little older, too. So you're talking about the age of some of these safeties. I think that's what you're probably going to get unless you draft a guy. And I think eventually you've got to start addressing future, too. Like you can get a guy in here that's going to be 30 years old and be a veteran and help out a guy like Amani Hooker, who is also a veteran at this point. But I think eventually they're going to have to go and beef up that secondary in terms of guys that you're stocking the cupboard with, the youth. But right now, yeah, I think that's the play, is you go out, you don't spend a ton of money on someone because I think a Justin Simmons, who is also around that age range, is going to be more expensive. So you could probably get someone somewhat equal to that and be able to do the job.
Yeah, you just got to stay healthy. I think Justin Simmons is going to do a lot better job.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he
yeah,
would. He'd just be costing a little more
Oh,
money.
no, I'm not comparing one to the other
No.
on that one. No, absolutely not, Will.
All right, let's go rapid fire on rule proposals. I just need a yes or no, maybe a sentence response on why you are in or out. As the league released on Wednesday all rule, bylaw, and resolution proposals that have been submitted by teams in advance of the annual meetings later this month in Orlando. Let's start with the big one. Onside kicks. Getting rid of them. Team must convert a 4th and 20 offensive play from its own 20. Are you in or out?
Is it within a certain point scale or difference right there? Is there a 10-point max that you can do stuff like this, or is
if you want an onside instead of onside kicking, you go for it you get a 4th and 20 from your own 20.
I'm in on that one too. I like the excitement of what it can bring.
I'm out. I think it's too weird.
Okay, I like the
It's
excitement.
not football to me.
Okay, understood.
The Colts are proposing coaches to challenge any foul that has been called on the field in addition to the existing menu of plays they are eligible to challenge. The NFL has traditionally stayed away from challenging subjective decisions, and the only season where that was a thing was in 2019 with pass interference. The Colts want to challenge every call that is made.
Nope.
I hate that.
Nope.
No, not in on that.
I am very out.
Yeah,
on
what are
that.
you going to?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm out.
we don't need the game to drag on longer.
It is one thing I do not like about the NBA is that you can review everything late in an NBA game. It just takes so long. The Lions submitted a rule change that would allow coaches to get a third challenge if one of their first two challenges is successful rather than if both are successful
I'm
in
okay.
a round.
I'm out.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm out on that one.
Why?
Because if you fail one, you shouldn't get another. Those are your two. You get rewarded for being good, not for being 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just me.
The Bills want the NFL to allow practice squad quarterbacks to be eligible to serve as the emergency third quarterback on game days. Currently, as we all were very versed in last fall and last summer, you have to have your third quarterback on the active roster in order for that quarterback to be unavailable for the day, but an emergency third quarterback. Are you in or out?
I'm out on that one. I think it clouds the game planning that you have available for you. You can hide a player. Oh, I'm injured. I got a concussion. You can't tell a person has a concussion or not, and then you end up sneaking somebody into the game that you simply want a game plan for. No, I'm out on that one.
I'm in.
And I also think there should be a separation of practice squad versus active roster. You should be rewarded for being on active roster.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This one I think is going to happen. The Steelers proposed moving the trade deadline back 1 week to after Week 9 games. In a separate proposal, 6 other teams suggested moving it back until after Week 10 games. The rationale behind this is the NFL added a week to the regular season and then did not make a corresponding move to move the trade deadline back a week.
I mean, we got to make adjustments to what the schedule suggests.
Yeah, if you're extending the NFL season, you got to be able to make changes within that. So the fact they never did that.
So why wouldn't they already
I know.
have done that?
I just thought about that. I was like, they hadn't done it?
The Jags would like the NFL to make available the raw Hawkeye replay feed in the coach's booth rather than only in the replay booth.
I see it in the college basketball games. I saw it this past weekend and realized that the Vols had that available. It was a couple times Coach Barnes wanted to challenge, and he had a guy behind him instantly with the iPad. It's like, yeah. Or I shook my head, no.
So GA
he
was
like
right
GA with
behind
the
him.
iPad. It's like, yeah, you should challenge that. It was in one of those fouls or something like that.
It was a goaltend late.
It was a goaltend, yes. And he looked down and was like, yeah, challenge.
One of those, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
It's like they do this in hockey because they've got their video people, their video coaches in side their bench.
Yeah.
And they can kind of be like, okay, yeah, let's do this. I like that.
Only pushback is the respect of the game, whereas road versus home games. Mm-hmm. Road games do get kind of sticky on the replays, and that's the home field advantage. Mm-hmm. You know, do you take away from home field advantage, or do you want the game efficiency?
The Eagles hope to see game clocks displayed tenths of a second in the final minute of each half.
That's funny. I can live in that world.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I can live in that world.
I'm
That's
not going
fine
to say
with me.
no or yes.
More transparency on how much
Fine.
time is left is never a bad thing.
No, never a bad thing on that one.
615-737-1045. More of your phone calls and more on the ESPN article Teron Davenport wrote this morning. One specific reason why Calvin Ridley is the perfect fit for the Tennessee Titans next.
One thing that really makes Genesis Diamond stand out from other jewelry stores is the education you get. These are not just clerks behind the counter. These are seasoned pros, okay? They know everything there is to know about diamonds, and they will take the time to teach you in a way that is transparent, informative, useful. They'll even teach you how to buy like a dealer buys, okay? They will show you the inside secrets of the diamond industry, and they will show you how diamonds are priced and graded on the world market and how you can maximize your budget. They will also teach you about lab-grown diamonds and how you need to be very, very careful with where and how you buy these. All this is done in a relaxed, no pressure, no expectation kind of atmosphere. They know most guys don't know much about diamonds, so they're committed to teaching you, not selling you. Then, when you are ready, Genesis will give you access to the largest selection of GI-certified diamonds in America. Yes, I said the largest, and nobody has this kind of selection. They will let you see 10, 15, 20 diamonds in your price range side by side, so you make an intelligent decision. I'm telling you, if you're diamond shopping, this is the place to go. It's a no-brainer. The education you want, the selection you need, and the price you deserve. Zero risk and zero pressure. Genesis Diamond voted best jewelry store and place to buy an engagement ring 10 years in a row. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
What's going on? Good morning. 8 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. New league, who this? Titans made a bevy of moves yesterday, keeping their own, bringing in some big names. But we'll start with the splash as they stole Calvin Ridley from the Jags, signing a 4-year, $92 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Last year in Jacksonville, Ridley hauled in 76 catches for 1,016 yards and 8 touchdowns. Titans also adding the quarterback room, taking former Steeler Mason Rudolph, who started 13 games for the Steelers over 4 years, and last season started 3 games going 3-0 for the injured Kenny Pickett. And the Folk hero returns. Nick Folk signing a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. Folk went 29 of 30 on field goals last year, only missed coming from 50-plus, leading the league in field goal percentage at 96.7. And the SEC tournament yesterday, Georgia over Missouri, 64-59. Arkansas takes down Vanderbilt in overtime, 90-85. 4 games today, starting with Mississippi State and LSU at noon. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show at hour number 3 starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose. 615-737-1045, the number. With our 11-year NFL veteran, Ramon Foster, our broadcast veteran, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, the most interesting producer in the world. My name is Will Bowling. Coming up in 15 minutes, what does Calvin Ridley's signing mean for the rest of the Tennessee Titans offseason plans? We'll discuss that as it pertains to Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, a number 7 overall pick, and everything in between. Guys, Teron Davenport of ESPN.com always crushes it in his coverage of the Titans and on social media. Says, according to ESPN stats and information, Calvin Ridley's 768 receiving yards on the perimeter ranked 5th in the NFL on passes thrown outside the numbers. Last season, the Titans recorded the 5th fewest receiving yards on passes thrown outside the numbers. Only the Jets, Patriots, Cardinals, and Broncos had fewer. It is certainly hard to throw outside the numbers when Andre Dillard is blocking or not blocking on the left side, and guys are getting beat immediately. And now the Titans have a guy like Brian Callahan told us he wanted, who can immediately get open on the perimeter.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what you're looking for. And if you look at the tape, too, just look at the tape from last year. No matter how you felt about this Titans secondary, he cooked. He just did. I remember watching like, there's Calvin Ridley again, and sideline passes, man. He ran that transcontinental that Coach Mack talks about for a touchdown down in Jacksonville. And his ability to understand how to use his body. You see him running his routes. He's got the little chicken wing out there to get a little separation so he's not overextending himself. But this is what you're looking for as far as spreading the field. I bet you won't see those 9, 10-man boxes again as far as trying to stop the run because you have the ability now to have a space filler as far as D-Hop goes, as far as Calvin goes. And again, if you have Treylon on this roster still, you know he's capable of playing. And maybe he's not that number 1 wide receiver, but the ability to make plays is what you're looking for a guy like him. But Calvin really opens this up even more. And we mentioned all of this without even really diving into more of what Tajay Spears, right? The growth that he can have. And also this, too, of why the Tony Pollard deal is so cool to me and why it was necessary to at least get a running back, one that you trust and believe. The wear and tear aspect of it. The bell cow conversation that a lot of people like to have, that ain't, I don't think, you won't see that much in other NFL cities, right? It's maybe about 5 teams that have those types of dudes. But to have a running back by committee that can also make plays, like pick your poison is what you're doing. And when was the last time you was capable of doing this type of trash talking? Really? Derek and AJ coming into his own, was Corey coming
And
into
Corey
his
when you had-
own.
yeah.
And then you had a Jonnu really sprouting here and there.
Yes.
Like that was the last time you had this level of just, I guess, confidence in saying, okay, we got some dudes. And yeah, you had to spend to get them. But this was a necessary evil. And you had the money to actually spend too. So depending upon, and Will mentioned this earlier, seeing what these contracts suggest, how front end they are, bonus structured that they are, that's the beauty of what you have right now. But you also have this too. If you have these guys and they make plays, now you can start drafting and developing. Mm-hmm. That's the point that I love about it, drafting and developing moving forward.
And they still need to do that because, Ramon, the two guys that they have that will be their biggest weapons, as we think at least they'll be their biggest weapons, in DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, they are, going to be a little bit older. They are those 30 guys, and you're not getting any younger. So you do have to continue to draft, like Coach Mack said, to be able to have that future. Mm-hmm. And I think this is why this is so incredibly good for this organization, though, right now. If you get a guy like Calvin Ridley in here, you already have a DeAndre Hopkins. For what they're going to be able to be on the field is huge, because you only had DeAndre Hopkins last year as really the guy that was a major threat as a wide receiver, and he was getting double teamed, and we saw what would happen in certain situations. They would take him out of the game, as hard as that was to do, because DeAndre Hopkins is damn good. But now you got Calvin Ridley, a guy that's a proven incredible route runner, a guy that can separate from coverage. He does all the things. He's speedy. Like, now you got two of these guys on the outside, and then what you want to do with Treylon Burks, and maybe you can utilize him more, like we've talked about this show, in the slot a little bit more and get more out of him in that way. But the fact you've got those guys, then Tajay Spears, who is also a natural pass catcher, who has shown that he can be a guy that gets out of situations. I think, like, this is an unpredictable offense. And it is going to be, if it is executed properly with Will Levis taking the right steps, it's going to be a nightmare to defensively plan against.
One offensive lineman for the Titans is off the board, who was an option last season, as George Fant heads back to Seattle.
Yeah.
Contract details on that: 2 years with a max value of nearly $14 million, with a $3.7 million signing bonus. And Aaron Wilson just added on Twitter, Fant had a strong season for the Texans, who wanted him back and had interest from multiple NFL teams. I think the Titans absolutely would have taken him as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. His price is one thing. He said needed to be correct. I thought he did a serviceable job in Houston last year, filling in the way he did. And, of course, Seattle's a place where he comes from and was retained at essentially as an undrafted guy.
Let's go to Chris in Clarksville, 615-737-1045. What's up, Chris?
Hey, guys. How are we doing this morning?
Good morning.
Awesome. So, just wanted to dive into the Calvin Ridley signing. I know there are some Titans fans out there that are saying that's a lot of money for a 30-year-old receiver. For a receiver that's going to be 30 years old, I believe, at the start of the season. But the thing is, you look at where his contract is, what his contract is. Right now, it's sitting around the 9th or 10th highest paid receiver. But you got other receivers let me think, T. Higgins. You got Brandon Ayuk, you got Justin Jefferson. All those three receivers need to be paid among other receivers that will follow. And by this time next year, that deal will look a lot better, especially with the cap going up. So I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about the money as far as what they spent on Calvin Ridley. This is the stuff they have to do. They're coming off two losing seasons. They have to pay the bad team tax essentially to get these types of players. So I'm not worried about that. But I like the signing. It brings some explosiveness to the offense, and also as far as a signing that I'd like to see them do in the free agency. He's visiting with the Bengals today, but I would like to see them bring in Mekhi Becton, because Michael Winu, he's a guy that's signing back with New England. He's my top guy for them to target on the right side, but now that he's gone, they could get Mekhi Becton. He could play left or right, and he came back from injury last year, and I think he was pretty solid coming back from 2 years of bad injuries. So he could be an option for Bill Callahan to work on, and I'd like to see him be utilized, but I'll hang up and listen. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
I'll be honest, I'm good on Mekhi Becton.
I'll pass on that one too.
I'll
be
I'm
real with
curious
you.
to hear your thoughts
I'll
on
pass
that.
on him. He's a big body, and I hate it, But it's I hate it, but it's right at the same time. But you got Bill Callahan. That's the only thing you give grace
know.
for. So if it's him that says, yeah, I like the guy, we take the guy, we'll work with the guy for a great price, it makes sense. Those are the things I have seen good offensive line coaches make players better because of technique, because of culture. That's one thing we were talking about when it comes down to the Sadiq Charles situation. Like, yeah, he's given up a ton of pressures and not really been a starter, but you look at what Washington did last year as far as the amount of sacks and just the way they passed all the time, too. There's a lot of context to sacks and bad play given up. Mekhi Becton, former first round, a heck of an athlete, but, of course, it comes with a lot of how we have to rework this guy and fix this guy and correct a whole lot of stuff. He's a big body, but when it comes down to what this team is looking for, it seems to me that they're going to be quick, fast, out the huddle, side to side and stuff like that. And when it comes to runs, unless he's a right-sided tackle, I'd much rather see him on that side than left protecting. Again, long arm, heck of an athlete, been injury prone, and he also has, and I'll give him credit to this, attacked his weight issue too. So I don't know how heavy he's going to be or light he's going to be, whatever the case may be with that. But I think there are other options, or you go get your dude through the draft.
And that's why I'm like, okay, I know Bill Callahan is going to be a huge addition here. Let's not just give him every project, though. Let's give the man a guy or two that at least he can say, hey, I don't have to work as much on this for the next year and a half. And that's why I'm okay still with going and getting your tackle at 7. Now, whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. But my goodness, we can't have every guy be a project for Bill.
Like, I'm not crapping on Mekhi Becton, but
No.
you look at the trajectory of what this team looked like it wants to do.
Yeah.
It might be in a different direction.
Mekhi Becton, among qualifying tackles, led the league in sacks allowed last season with 12. He played 883 snaps at left tackle and 101 at right tackle. Honestly, I know it's a hard comparison because he's not a first-round pick, but I would rather just have Bill Callahan work with Jalen Duncan.
Yeah.
If you want to have a big body project tackle who wasn't great last year, you have plenty of those on the roster already to work with without paying more money to go add another guy to the mix. Like, just develop the guys you already have.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have another former first-round pick in anyone but Andre Dillard. But the thing is, like, we've already done hey, let's try to develop the former first-round pick that failed at his previous stop thing. And that was Andre Dillard. So, Chris, it's a good point, and it's a fair question, and I'm glad you brought it up because I think it has been something that people have discussed on social media, but I think that's why a lot of people are out on it. It's pretty much just Dillard all over again.
Yeah, you don't want Bill Callahan get that many more grays in his hair.
615-737-1045. What does Calvin Ridley signing mean for the rest of the Titans' offseason plans? We'll talk about that next. RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 615-737-1045. How you jump in? We've got Mason Rudolph contract details, courtesy of Tom Pelissero, NFL Network. 1-year deal with the Titans, a $1.35 fully guaranteed $1 million salary, $1.35 million signing bonus, $170,000 in per-game active bonuses, and up to $750K in playtime incentives. Man, I want playtime incentives.
Heck yeah.
Right? Playtime? Just the way that's read was kind of funny.
Right.
I'm going to get $10 in nap time incentives today before the SEC tournament starts.
Great.
Again. Base value $2.87 million, max value $3.62 million for Mason Rudolph. Were you guys surprised some people were like pretty negative on that signing? I thought it was decent.
I'll let you start with this because you know him. And yeah. I also put a thing out just gauging people's, opinions on it. And a lot of people were saying all these other quarterbacks, Garoppolo, everything. I don't know if I even got one Mason Rudolph off of that. I'm curious as the stigma with him because he's really, if you look at his resume, been a really good backup. I know he was predicted to be a starter when he was drafted, but I feel like he's been really good in that role.
He got buried behind Ben is what it was. Like, I think they were planning to try to, work Mason in and have him be the guy moving forward and stuff like that, and Ben just kept playing. And you don't get time to develop when you're in situations like that, i.e. Jordan Love, right? And that type of stuff happens where you draft guys as a second or third rounder, plan for the future. Pittsburgh essentially said they had a first-round grade on them. But the way they graded them, as opposed to how the Titans may have graded them, or the Jets, or anybody else may have been a different conversation, but he won the second regardless. Big-time arm out of Oklahoma State. His time in Pittsburgh has been up and down, and more up as of late than down, too, with how he finished out the season. What you're getting is a guy that understands how to play his role. If you go look at some of the old stuff that he said and things that he did while backing up Ben, and then they also draft a guy in front of him like Kenny Pickett, and then they bring in Mitch Trubisky. He understands what it takes to be a student and be quiet and be supportive. And one of the things that he said that was super fascinating to me was when he was a backup or inactive or the active backup or on game day, everybody gets the plays that get a mic or, have the earpiece and stuff. He would go through the progressions of how he would let the play unfold with him behind center. And that's one of the things you got to say. He kept learning, but he's not getting in the way of a guy like Kenny Pickett. So he understands his role, but also understand this too. When he got his opportunity and shot this year,
then it's game time.
He ran with it. And that is the one thing I will say for the people that may have something negative to say about it. From where he was in that year, that 2019 season, and I think even Detroit, I saw a different player.
Didn't you say he had, as a physical guy too, at that point, in terms of his game, a little bit more of a happy feet, and that's kind of progressed as well?
Exactly. He was happy-feeted in the pocket, trying to figure out what was next. Somewhat, it's just like listening to a podcast on 2x speed. You know what I'm saying? Just hearing it a whole lot quick. I do that every once in a while when I want to get a podcast in. But with that being said, he's shown growth, so much so that the locker room was somewhat split between wanting Mason Rudolph to be the quarterback coming back or Kenny Pickett.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was Russell Wilson took the legs out of Mason when it comes down to negotiating by taking a $1.2 million deal. You'd be a fool not to take a Russell Wilson when he's only charging you $1.2 million. So that's why the market opened up a little bit more for him. But what you get is a guy that can sustain your level of play if Will Levis is out.
615-737-1045. What does the Calvin Ridley signing mean for the rest of the Titans' offseason plans? Ramon, you already mentioned earlier you are more in on Brock Bowers than you were before. Why?
Because with the addition of this new regime, how Brian Callahan has been in the offense that has operated without a premier left tackle. I know they went for Orlando Brown Jr. last year, but they have given up sacks. The year they made it to the Super Bowl, they had one of the worst offensive lines in America, okay? And that's what lost them the Super Bowl, right? And, again, when I say Protections isn't just the O-line thing. It's a team thing. It's understanding how to scheme up a defense. Hey, we're going to slide this week. We're going to go man on man. Hey, you guys this week, that right side of the D-line isn't that great. Your one-on-ones were sliding to the left this week. That's also protections. It's also timing of the ball. That's one thing we talk about with Will Levis. His next year's steps of running the plays, getting the ball out on time, staying in the pocket when you need. Pressure ain't pressure. You're supposed to deliver when pressure's in your face. That's why I say, to me, having more weapons that can get open. It's been seen to us, and watching Brock Bowers at Georgia, he can beat almost anybody at the line of scrimmage, or if you put a linebacker or even safeties on him, he can be a mixed match nightmare. That's what I'm looking for when it comes down to what this team is trying to stack and build. This is still a gradual increase to solidifying this roster, getting players that can actually make plays for you. And here's the thing that I will lay my head on when it comes down to me saying, but Brock Bowers, there's still some quality in the second. Not every franchise, as far as tackles go, not every franchise around the NFL has a premier left tackle that's a first-round draft pick, top 10 draft pick. I played next to guys that was an undrafted guy at left tackle. Kelvin Beachum was a guy that I played for a while who was a sixth-rounder as a tackle. Most of the dudes I played by on the left side were not first rounders. They were seconds and thirds. And that's also where you get when it comes to the growth of this league as far as maturity as a player, too. Sometimes I've seen first rounders just not have it in them. And that's problematic, too. So if you swing high on the tackle and you miss, I think that's even worse than saying, well, we'll just get another one if it's a second rounder. The issue is Joe Alt is a plug-and-play type of guy. Now, whatever moves are being made as far as this weekend is it's like this camp is quiet right now as far as the players being signed, or what other moves that they plan on making can determine what happens with Joe Alt. If they move back and end up getting Fashanu or Mims or even Latham for that matter, and you start MPF at left tackle if that's what you want to do, you got options. But I like the idea of a Brock Bowers progressively moving this offense forward. I know Will got the screw face right now when I mention MPF.
MPF, a left tackle.
Only reason I bring that up is he's still in the building. He's cheap and he's under contract. And he was also a second-round pick.
So was Andre Dillard. He was a first-round pick.
Well, that's very true, but I feel a whole lot better about MPF than I do. I don't even know if Dillard had a full 16 under his belt. Did he start over 16 games in this league yet? Andre Dillard?
At this point,
yeah.
between Philly and this team last year, I think.
I'm just giving options for what they're capable of doing if they go for Brock Bowers. They're a second-round talent there at tackle that will be there.
Mm-hmm. And, look, this does shake things up a little bit. And I'll say the one thing that sticks in my head from Brian Callahan's.
Hold up real quick. Yeah. No, he does not have a full 16 under his belt. His rookie year, he started 4 games.
Okay.
2021, he started 5 games. And this year, because of his pay, he started 10.
Okay.
As far as Andre Dillard's concerned. So, no, he has never started a full season.
Okay, just altogether, though, he's okay.
Altogether,
I get what you're
he's
saying.
got 19 starts.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking altogether. But, yes, thanks for clarifying that. Look, Ramon, I mean, the thing that sticks out to me with Brian Callahan, the first conversation we had with him, is playmaker. That is the word that stuck with me and the word that is resonating during this free agency sweep that they're making. Playmakers. That is what you've seen a majority of them in terms of what they're doing. It's been those type of guys in free agency. And so when it comes to the draft, at this point, I would not be surprised if they throw a wrench in there and, trade down, maybe get Brock Bowers and then maybe get a third-round pick and take their tackle a little later in the first round by trading down. Or, something like second round, even like you were mentioning. But I also then think it opens up the door even more if they're in love with one of these wide receivers, Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors. Look, there's other ones. I'm not even going to say that those are the 2 only ones that they would go for in the first round. I feel like you also have a chance that they take one of them because they're also possibly playmakers for the future. And why not stock that wide receiver cupboard so that when you get DeAndre Hopkins, maybe he's not around after next year. And Ridley is getting a little bit older, so he can be the veteran in the room, but you add a guy that's going to be your youth and your future. I think that's not out of the realm now to say that they could do that. with that, I'm going to be boring, and I'll say I want to still draft the best available left tackle, Ramon. I've been with it since day one, and I think that, like I mentioned in the earlier segment, like, give Bill Callahan a little bit of love. Like, give him a little bit more to work with, at least in terms of getting that left side right and not having to develop as much. That still has to happen. But I think it would still be solid to get one of those guys in there. But, hey, I think anything can go now. They will pull the trigger on whatever they think is going to better this team, whether that be a tackle, a tight end, a wide receiver. One thing I've learned about this team in free agency, Rand and Bill and Brian, they're capable of anything, folks.
Yeah.
I just still want Joe Alt so badly.
He's like, I'll give up anything.
I don't think Will Levis is going to make it through the season against Daniil Hunter, Danico Autry, and Will Anderson. You need him to finish the season for the sake of not only your success as a team, but his development. And the way you allow Will Levis to finish the entire season as a starting quarterback is by keeping him upright. I mean, we have not seen a quarterback start and finish the season healthy for the Titans since 2021.
That's Taylor last year.
Hmm?
That was Taylor's last year.
Yeah.
Lawan.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, that's a valid point.
I think the way specifically the Texans are loading up with the pass rushers that Indy has, with Josh Allen being kept in Jacksonville, it is all the more reason to look at what is going on around you within the AFC South and say, we need to protect our quarterback as well and as intentionally as we can.
I wrote that. What if, Will, in that same context, you get a trade to move back?
With who? That's the question.
With who? Raiders.
Okay,
or
so
Minnesota.
if the Raiders
in
go
Minnesota.
if the Raiders go up from 13-7, they're no longer needing to get in front of Atlanta to go get J.J. McCarthy because Atlanta has Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
So you, again, have to convince Minnesota, Denver, Vegas, whoever you want to trade back with, you have to convince them that one of the other teams is in conversations with you to trade up to 7. You've got to convince them that, hey, the team right behind us isn't going to take J.J. McCarthy, but, hey, we're on the phone with Denver. We're talking to them right now. We've got them on the other line, and if you don't offer better, if you don't move up, we're going to take their deal. You've got to now fabricate a market for J.J. McCarthy in the number 7 overall pick in order to make that deal. And it could go either way, right? Like, it's possible that Atlanta taking Kirk Cousins doesn't impact your trade market, but there's a chance that just killed your trade market because now no one needs to jump Atlanta.
So to that same point, though, too, when I mentioned the protection, you're right. Keeping Will Levis relaxed in the pocket. That's what I'm going to say, right? So that he can develop and see the plays go through, and you ain't got guys in your lap all the time, or you're not on the run and he's putting himself in harm's way. So it was one thing that I saw last year. I think that was a little bit of coaching malpractice. It was almost a cardinal sin with what was happening, too. We saw in that Houston game in Houston, Will Anderson come in and get 2 back-to-back sacks. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, ain't no way they're putting him by himself. Right? It was just like, oh, what, again? And that to me is what I talk about when I say team protection. That also comes into the coaches. That also comes into an offensive coordinator or pass game coordinator that understands that, look, this guy's getting his butt whipped. We can't leave him by himself again and get our quarterback hurt. And I think Ryan Tannehill got hurt again on that play where he got his back just tore off, man. And that to me is where I stand by saying I feel better about the play callers when it comes down to protecting quarterbacks too. Why would you do a 5-step drop with a guy that just got beat 2 plays ago?
Right.
Yeah.
Chris at Hermitage, first up on the phones. What's up, Chris?
Good morning, guys. Thank you for taking my call.
Yep.
I was going to comment on the Calvin Ridley sign, of course. I think he's a great player, and I think he'll be a good addition, obviously, because the Titans have a big need at wide receiver, obviously, and a nice channel with Hopkins. But the biggest thing I like about it is actually just the message that it sends. Obviously, the Titans are rebuilding and they need a lot of pieces, but I like that it shows that the organization is not going to sit on its hands and try not to compete in some capacity. Like, they're not mailing the season in, they're not consenting to being a bad team. they're getting weapons in there, and they're going to try to actually go and play and win ball games, which I love. I love that message that Red and Callahan are sending with that. And then as far as how it impacts the rest of the season, the rest of the off season, the only thing I feel pretty certain about is that it obviously knocks wide receiver out at pick number 7. I think they still will go Joe Alt or the best left tackle available, to Will's point. I freaking love Brock Bowers. I'm a Georgia fan, and I want him here in Nashville. But I just think the need and the combination of want with the offensive line and how big an issue it was is going to be too much of a priority. And the only thing I'm certain about, I don't think they'll have an option to trade back, because I think Will is right. I think the Kirk Cousins deal with Atlanta kind of impacted the trade market, and I don't think anybody's going to come up with the price that the Titans are worthwhile to move back out of that spot where they can get their guy at left tackle and the cornerstone piece there. That's all I got. I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks, Chris.
Great call.
Appreciate the call. And I don't know if, the Cousins deal will have some kind of impact. All of this matters or depends on how those teams view J.J. McCarthy. Because if they like J.J. McCarthy enough, they probably will make a deal with you, even though Atlanta has their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Because New York could want to move back. Chicago could want to move back again at 9 with all the picks they have. Like, if you love a quarterback enough, you will move heaven and earth to go get him if you think that someone else is also thinking about trading for him. But it does change that market a little bit. We just don't know what the change is because we don't know candidly how Denver and Minnesota and Vegas feel about J.J. McCarthy or how the Giants at 6 feel about J.J. McCarthy.
I just say it gives you more flexibility is where I go with it. Like, it really does opens up the options that you have.
Dustin in Murfreesboro up next on the phones. What's up, Dustin?
What up, Dustin?
Yeah, what's up, man? Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
Hey, so I got a question. We're not talking about Peter Skoronski playing left tackle at all. Why can't he at least get a try at left tackle before we draft another left tackle? Look, I'm on the bus of drafting a playmaker, and Neighbors, Brock Bowers are
nice, y'all.
A doozy. I don't know why we can't at least try Skoronski at left tackle and see how he does.
Ramon has picked up, has stood up and walked out of the studio. The GM and head coach have said, all right. The GM and head coach are on the record that he's a guard.
He is
and
not
they just answered
moving.
that question a couple weeks ago that he's not going to move, then that he is a guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have dispelled those rumors.
Yeah. Why are we talking about Joe Alt if you want Peter Skoronski at left tackle? I know he was a college left tackle, but he's an NFL guard. And respectfully, the only reason I walked out on that is because we've answered this question time and time. And we've heard Brian Callahan in his opening presser say he's a guard. He was like the kid from Northwestern. Yeah, he's. We got that clip somewhere.
I think even at the combine.
At the combine, he did, and I love the idea, but I'm here to tell you, footwork is just different.
This is usually the music that plays us out at the end of the show, and we're going to let it play us out of this conversation. We'll
Why move two pieces? We're trying to piece this thing together as it is.
We'll try to calm Ramon Foster down next. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling here from my friends at Lee Company. Hey, are you looking to keep your home in great shape year-round? Of course you are. Sign up for a Lee Company home maintenance plan for $12 a month. Plan members are going to receive 4 service visits a year from the Lee Company team of experts. That's a heating system tune-up, an air conditioning tune-up, an electrical inspection, and a detailed plumbing inspection as well. That's 4 annual visits for just $12 a month. You're going to have help for all 4 seasons of the year, and you're going to get the very best in-home service. For the very best in-home service, you got to call Lee Company at 615-567-1000, or you can visit them online at leecompany.com. Just search home maintenance plan to join their membership. Again, that's 615-567-1000 and online at leecompany.com. They are all you need for all 4 seasons. That's Lee Company, all you need. Well, the peaceful protest has come to an end inside the 104.5 The Zone studios. It's RKW brewed by 8th and Rose. For a minute there, it was just KW. Because we got another call asking why Peter Skronsky isn't a left tackle. And the R was about to leave.
He was angry.
And respectfully, too, I will answer your question. This happens often. College tackles do move inside. I'm looking at an article right now because I was trying to find situation after situation where this has happened. Washington Commanders, who didn't have a great protection year last year, Sam Cosmi was a second-round pick. Play tackle, end up moving him inside. According to PFF, he was the one bright spot that they had on that offensive line. Played over 1,000 snaps. Pass blocking was his number one thing. He was green in that, and he was really good in the run game too. Probably a young guy you should keep your eye on as far as young offensive linemen. The other side is this: the conversation that we had. You got DeForest Buckner in this division. You got other guys that play well. You got a Jeffrey Simmons. The interior aspect of your defensive line is why you go after real good prime tackles or guards that can pass protect and be efficient. It's no longer just attack the tackles anymore. Peter Skronsky, to me, might be a decent left tackle in the NFL. I'll never dismiss his ability to be good at his original position. But I think growth and development of him being a guard will make him an all-pro faster ever than him being a left tackle, all-pro or Pro Bowl caliber player. He is a high pedigree guy when it comes down to it, and he's probably better suited into being an NFL guard than he is an NFL tackle. Look at the trends that you see. There's time after time after time college tackles turn into NFL guards. Myself, college tackle, moved into being an NFL guard.
You played 11 years.
I played 11 years at that position. I'd have been a 1, maybe 2 year guy had I been at tackle. But when you're athletic enough or flexible enough to move inside, you do that more times than not.
And I just say, look at the case if they do and hopefully get in the right left tackle. Then you've got Skronsky now that can continue to develop at guard. You've got your center now. That is worlds more of positivity on that side, which we have not seen in a long time. And I feel like they have the chance to do that this year.
No justice, no peace. Stop trying to move Pete.
Thank you.
God.
No justice, no peace.
No justice, no
For
going
Ramon
on
Foster,
strike.
who will continue to protest and will stage a sit-in with his mic off.
I hope Titans Radio have me do a one-on-one with Peter. I
I
just
know.
want to ask him about that moving inside. What does it mean to him?
You can just keep asking him in different ways why he isn't a tackle.
There we go.
So, if I put you, to the left of a guard,
Yeah.
how would you feel about that?
You know what I'm saying?
Did you guys see this from the Pittsburgh Penguins this morning?
What I missed?
The newest update?
I just read this.
The Penguins have announced that a shipment carrying the Jaromir Jagr bobbleheads for tonight's game against the Sharks have been stolen after its arrival in California. As a result, the bobbleheads are not in Pittsburgh and will not be distributed at tonight's game, but will be at a later date.
Dude.
They learned they were victims of cargo theft after failing to receive the shipment as scheduled. Who stole the Penguins bobbleheads? Wrong answers only.
Did they think that was a truck full of something else down there in California?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what they thought it was.
Who stole it, though? I'm going to go with Snoop Dogg. Snoop did it.
Snoop might have.
stole it.
Look, those Jaromir Jagr bobbleheads, let me tell you something. That guy was a stud who
Yep.
played until his mid-40s. Those might be worth something, but I don't think that was what they were going after.
No, absolutely. If Snoop Dogg and Mickey Mouse stole it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Clark in the F&M Bank chat on Facebook says Calvin Ridley was drastically overpaid,
Ugh.
30 years old, suspended by the NFL for gambling, and missed the entire 2022 season. Only played 5 games in 2021, 65th best receiver in the NFL. Way too much.
Who going to tell him?
Well, can we just replay my
5
rant
games
at
was from
6?
an injury, right? Exactly. That was for an injury. And you got players on your team that probably got way crazier situations than gambling going on, too. I mean, you got MPF, same situation.
When you have a lot of cap space, you have to overpay. And it doesn't mean you don't do it. It means that agents know you have a lot of money to spend.
And here's the thing. If you could have got him for a cheaper price, you would have. But you also had 2 bidders in New England and his own place in Jacksonville that was reported wanted him bad. And you also saw him dice you apart last year, and not just you, other teams too. He worked Pittsburgh in a grand fashion, okay? I've seen him do these things. It's not just like a one-off. Yes, he got to come prove himself and be a playmaker here, but this is the price you pay.
This is not John Robinson. This is not Mike Vrabel. This is Rand Carthon. This is Brian Callahan. They wanted to be aggressive. They wanted playmakers, and they have a lot of money. And they decided this is what we wanted to add, and they did it. Props to them. Tip to the cap. All you other haters can shut it.
Oh,
Gavin is up next on the phone lines. What's up, Gavin?
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
What up, Gavin?
So I have a question, and I will be the first to admit I'm a pretty casual fan.
Okay.
But we have a large amount of cap space left. How unlikely is it that, say, we go and sign one of the bigger free agent offensive tackles? I know, Tyron Smith he's available. I know he's going to require a hefty penny. But how unlikely is something like signing an offensive tackle and then drafting that playmaker wide receiver at 7, or maybe trading back and getting maybe not that top 2 or 3 guy, but a 4th or 5th and get some trade picks, maybe get a second that the Chiefs have said that that's what it's going to require to get Snead, and maybe fill up some more things. Just kind of want to hear y'all's opinion on that.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It was the whole offseason plan there. There's a lot there, but I think as far as free agent tackles go, you're more likely to draft one always than you are to sign one, unless you want to go get Tyron Smith.
Yeah, David Bakhtiari's out there too, but he's been injury prone as of late. Hasn't finished the season, I don't think, in like 2-3 years. Dwayne Brown got signed now. The other guys out there, I'm sorry, I don't know if you really want these guys. I like Bakhtiari. I don't know if you're going to see him healthy, though. Like, where
you're
you going to
just
get from?
kicking the can down the road on, hey, do we want to draft a tackle for like another year?
You can't do that.
If you like Joe Alt well enough and he's available, the tackle out of Notre Dame, you take him and you move on. Just like how easy it was to take Peter Skoronski last year, according to Ray Carthon. Coming up, fourth and final hour of the show, we'll reset what you've missed this morning as the Titans schedule another visit with a defensive player, and they visit with one today, according to reports. Can the Titans afford to let a linebacker leave Nashville without a deal? Well, I was going to ask that question after the break, but Kayla answered it. So we'll see what else we can ask. Coming up next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson, Ramon Foster here for our friends at Window Nation. And I'm just happy it's March because that means the weather's getting nicer. That means spring projects, Ramon Foster. And that means maybe popping open your windows this week because the weather's been great. It's a critical time to check your home's windows. If they are cracked, leaking, they won't stay open, or they won't just open at all. Now is the time to call Window Nation. Great deal going on. Buy 2 windows. Get 2 free, plus 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 24 months.
And the best thing is they got options, too. Whatever kind of windows you have, they have over 1,500 custom vinyl window combinations available for you, and all they do are windows. They are experts at it. Have installed over 200,000 windows last year. That's 40 times more than the average window installer, too. Best part is 96% of them require no follow-up service, and you know what that means? That means you get them, you're good. They don't have to revisit you anymore. Over 20,000 online positive reviews. Simply this. If you need new windows like Kayla just told you, call them at 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
What's going on? Good morning, 901 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. New league, who this? The Titans made a bevy of moves yesterday, keeping some of their own, bringing in some big names. But we'll start with the splash, as the Titans stole wide receiver Calvin Ridley away from the Jaguars, signing a 4-year, $92 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Last year in Jacksonville, Ridley hauled in 76 receptions for 1,016 yards and 8 touchdowns. Titans also adding to the quarterback room, adding Mason Rudolph, who started 13 games for the Steelers over the last 4 years. Started 3 games last season and went 3-0 when starting for the injured Kenny Pickett. And the Folk hero returns. Nick Folk signing a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. Folk went 29 of 30 on field goals this last year, with his only miss coming from 50-plus, leading the league in field goal percentage at 96.7. And the SEC tournament yesterday, Georgia over Missouri 64-59. Arkansas takes down Vanderbilt in overtime 90-85. 4 games today, starting with Mississippi State and LSU at noon. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show, 9 a.m. in Nashville on a beautiful Thursday morning. And yes, we know it's not beautiful outside, but if you woke up in Nashville, you're having a beautiful morning. You know what can make it even more beautiful? A little bit of 8th and Rose coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That would start my morning off great if I was at SEC tournament games late last night, with locations on 8th Avenue, Charlotte, the airport, and the Broadview at Vanderbilt. 8th and Rose Coffee cultivates community by the cup. You can find your favorite retail bag at every local Kroger and Whole Foods as well. 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. Robert Walsh makes the show happen. And coming up in 20 minutes, we will be joined by Vol Network color commentator and national treasure, Bert Bertelkamp. I'm very excited. Does a terrific job with Bob Kessling, the entire crew on the Vol Network. We'll talk a little bit of Tennessee hoops coming up in 15 minutes. We're also just glad to have another Bert in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
We love the Bert we have, and what's better than one Bert than 2 Berts?
Selfishly, I want him to get a little behind the scenes here. In radio and music radio, and you have a big guest on, you always say, hey, would you mind cutting some rejoins for us? Like, hey, you're listening to so-and-so radio with Yodel number 1 and Yodel number 2. Just having him say, like, you're listening to Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's money. Like, selfishly, I would like to get him to do that, but I don't want to waste Bert's time.
Oh.
See, now I shouldn't have told y'all.
I know.
You're like kids on
Like,
Christmas.
come
You got to
on.
have something.
We can ask one less question.
Sure.
I wouldn't make him do it on the air. I would give him a couple practice runs.
You give him a pro like him only needs
I don't even think
one.
he'd want it. Yeah.
From Bert to Bert, if he's only going to do it in one, I'm going to ask for 3 different cuts. But that's just me.
Hey, you just being you. You just being yourself, okay? Bert, man, where have you been today, man? I hadn't even heard from you, dog. Where you at on this signing, man? You had a big day yesterday.
Who had a big day yesterday?
I mean, I'm not even gonna mention what they are. You just had a big day yesterday.
I am still back here licking my wounds from all the casualties I've suffered since legal tampering. So just making sure I'm healthy for the offseason. Don't want to come into the season with injuries. Just back here godlike body that I live in.
Oh,
Do that belly roll.
Which
a lot of people say that I have the peak male physique. I don't want to out my sources, but a lot of people are saying that.
Ooh,
You shouldn't tell your
I want to
sources
hear who
on
the
that.
sources
It's Cheyenne. Cheyenne are my sources.
Okay.
So
Get her that ring.
is Lucas around in there?
He just skedaddled off
goodness.
to SEC tournament.
I wanted to congratulate Lucas Panzica for ratioing a casual last night on Twitter.com. Did you guys see this? Chris
Yes.
Brockman tweeted, I'm told via his X bio that he is on the Rich Eisen show. He tweeted, A.J. Brown is 26 years old, and the Titans didn't want to pay him as much as they're now paying 29-year-old Calvin Ridley. Lucas Panzica retweeted that and said, we know. It's why they fired everybody.
He did say his hands hurt from dunking way too hard on that guy.
That's so fun. I actually like Chris Brockman. Like, I've had some interactions with them in the past when Taylor Lewan was here. And so that actually was a very bad take that I am so glad Lucas Panzica actually did that and came at him.
Austin Huff, our good friend from Cork Bats, responded to that and said, Pluto used to be a planet. Then things changed.
I mean, come on.
That's a great
Did you
answer.
not pay attention to the last 6 months? Actually, the last year.
No, they didn't.
No,
In other
they
words,
didn't.
There is no reason to go to national media or national radio shows for your Titans conversation.
No.
And honestly, Chris, Rich Eisen Show, other national markets, thank you for being so bad at talking Titans, because it sends all these listeners to us.
It helps us, yeah.
It helps Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and the loyal listeners who come up to us at basketball games and say hello and love the show. Like last night that happened to me. You know, like we have so many of you that come up to us in public and say, oh, well, we love the show. Because so many of you national radio hosts are so bad at covering this team. So let's give them a round of applause.
Hey,
National radio hosts.
Way to go.
National media members, thank you for being so bad at talking Titans. 615-737-1045, our number. Jerome Baker, inside linebacker of the Miami Dolphins, will reportedly be in town today visiting with the Tennessee Titans. Missed the end of last season with a fractured wrist. Ramon Foster, in your experience as a free agent before, I know you played with your same team all 11 years in the NFL. How many times is a visit in person needed just to simply do medical checks and fact-finding in person on a guy like this who finished the season injured?
I think they'll probably send him to the training room and to the doctors. Hey, check the wrist out, man. Is everything cool? But this is also where personalities start to show, too. Hey, we want you, okay? Hey, why are we playing around? Let's make this thing happen. This is what happens on those visits. That's why you see a lot of time players go to certain cities and they don't leave. That's where the sales pitch. This is recruiting 101 right here. This is where, hey, I know you might get an extra $1 million over here, but I promise you, you're going to last over here. Like, that's where those conversations are had, where you can put a face to the words, too, because there's so many calls, so many tweets, so much access to players who are wanted in this, and Jerome Baker's a wanted guy in this situation right here. This is where that type of stuff comes to be closed out, is when I can see those people one-on-one and have those conversations. It's the same thing that we heard Rand and Brian Callahan talk about, you know, as far as how they became an item and he ended up hiring them. Brian came into town, the personalities match, the goals match, the aspirations that they have for their careers match. That's why you have Brian Callahan as your head coach now, and those visits right there, that's what they do. It's been a lot of times you've met people, or we went through the Athletic article. You remember last year during the football season, they had those top 50 or top 100 players that said, well, I didn't like this coach because this, and this. That was recruiting. That was, hey, do our personalities match for us to do business together? It's more than just a check sometimes. Sometimes I got to shake your hand and get a little face value on that. And that's what, for the sake of this defense, I hope that's what's happening with Jerome Baker, if he's the type of guy that they feel like Denard Wilson needs.
And I feel like he is. I mean, you look at his resume, and he's been a solid piece down there. He's been a leader. He wore the green dot. Walter Payton Man of the Year. You name it, he's got all the outside stuff. He's got the leader stuff. And what he does on the field, I feel like that would be a great add in terms of, you know, excelling in coverage. I think this is a guy you need to pair up with the newbie, and I'm now blanking.
Kenneth Murray.
Kenneth Murray, thank you. In adding him, and then you get a guy like Jerome Baker, man, that would upgrade the linebackers room tremendously. And I know that Jack Gibbons is now continually going to be on this team. He's going to be a part of this team, but you want depth. You've got to have it. So I think that's a good sign, too. He's been here. He knows what goes on here. But this ad would be huge. He did have that sprained MCL, too, last season. The fractured wrist is not a worry in my mind at all.
Right.
I had a fractured wrist. Never bothered me the rest of my career in terms of a yoga person.
Yeah.
No, but I'm serious.
Do you tackle people in yoga?
I think, well, I do headstands on my
There you
hands.
Oh, wow.
So put a whole bunch of pressure on my wrist, but I was going to say I don't tackle people.
Yeah, the MCL, though, to me, that's one of those things people come back from in the middle of the season, too.
Isn't that
that's a rehab
lighter?
thing depending upon the grade and stuff. So these are football injuries.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Other news this morning, Von Bell, a Chattanooga native, safety, played his college ball at Ohio State, almost went to Tennessee, on the list of almost Vols who are now really good pros in the NFL, is headed to Cincinnati.
Nice.
The Lions also just signed head coach Dan Campbell and GM Brad Holmes to contract extensions.
Earned it.
They did not listen to the fringes of Twitter who said they should be fired after they lost to the 49ers last season in the NFC Championship game.
All good, man. That type of stuff happened. Dan Campbell's proven that he's now, I think, the standard for how you want to go and build a team and make an identity. And I'm hoping that's what we see from Brian Callahan and this coaching staff too. It's like you see an identity emerge even more.
You also have the Titans tweeting out just a minute ago, said, y'all mind if we announce some things? So, said, mind if we announce a few things today? 5 minutes ago. We are expected to hear from free agents soon.
Yeah, 11:30.
We carrying those interviews? All right,
Buck will have them on his
Vol
show.
Network coverage begins at 11:30. Or no, it does not. Not today. So yes, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Vol Network coverage begins at 11:30 tomorrow as
And I'll-
Tennessee takes on the winner of Mississippi State and LSU.
I'll pop down there too and have some stuff on X and Twitter and all that stuff.
works.
Lovely. Coming up next, we will hear from the color commentator who you will hear on these airwaves maybe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend. Vol Network's Bert Bertelkamp. We'll add another Bert into the equation next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson for Members Nutrition. You've heard me talk about the Youthful Cleanse by Daily Defense, but Members Nutrition brings affordable and quality supplements to you at a fraction of the normal retail cost. I'm doing the probiotic right now, which I absolutely love. Take it every morning. Feeling good with the gut health now. And yes, these are all made in the USA, no matter what type of supplement you're in the market for. Maybe it's immunity supplements, weight loss, or detox, like the cleanse I mentioned. Men's health, women's health, whatever it is, they have it all. And now they are proud to announce that their supplements are actually going to be discounted even more for our listeners. They're offering an extra 50% off your purchase on already discounted prices, and get it while you can. No code needed. The discount is automatically applied at checkout. So make sure to go now to membersnutrition.com.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW is brewed by 8th and Roast on 104.5 The Zone with our resident VFL, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling. And joining us right now on the phone lines, he is Vol Network's Bert Bertelkamp. You hear him saying money on The Zone every time we carry Vol Network Tennessee hoops. Bert, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, just getting ready for the tournament. Doing great. How you doing?
We are great, and I wanted to start, Bert, by asking, how happy are you now that you don't have to do any more interviews this week as a member of the last Tennessee team to win the SEC tournament? That is no longer a thing that we've got to talk about, right?
Yeah, that's good. A couple of years ago, we got the monkey off our back, and I'm glad it's off. I hope we can play well this weekend. I think we will, but it'll be tough.
So, Bert, no Tennessee team has ever won the SEC regular season championship and the SEC tournament in the same season. What is so challenging about the feat that Tennessee is going to try to do this week and be the first team to win both?
Well, winning the regular season is really difficult, more difficult than winning the tournament. It's a grind, and the SEC is such a good league from top to bottom. So that's quite an accomplishment, and I'm certainly happy for the team being able to pull that off, especially this year. And then to take that momentum into the tournament, it's exciting. I think the team feels like they can win 3 in a row. They'll have to play well. They got upset by Kentucky last Saturday. I don't think, that's any big deal. It's a big deal the game is a big deal, but losing it, I don't think it's going to carry over. These guys got short memories, and they're ready to roll. They got as good a chance as anybody to win this thing.
So, Bert, what is it like to watch Dalton Connect up close and personal? Just seeing him in person, it is even more jarring and incredible what he's able to do. And I imagine on a daily basis, it's got to be a treat.
It's unbelievable watching him. He's had a phenomenal season, and he doesn't have bad games. He has good games and great games, and mostly great games. And he can do so many things. He can shoot threes, unlimited range with people guarding him, and then he can drive it very effectively. Gets to the free throw line a lot. Can pull up, can post up, can do just about anything you want offensively. And teams have thrown everything, every kind of defense at him. And the only thing that's remotely worked is when they run 2 or 3 guys at him and make him give up the ball. And that opens things up for the rest of the team. But he's a great young man. He's kind of quiet, but the team has really accepted him as the star, and it's been nice. I mean, there could be jealousy and bad attitudes about all the attention he's getting, but it's exact opposite. These guys love him, and they appreciate what he's been able to do for the team, which is unbelievable. I mean, he offensively, he's as good as I've seen.
Bert Bertelkamp with us this morning discussing the Vols. SEC tournament kicked off last night. Bert, you know what I love about listening to you whenever I hear you on the radio and you guys are making the call? Is you do not shy away from either your admiration or love for Jonas Adu. Give him the ball. That's all I hear from you. Why is that such a big part of the way you point him out in this game that they play?
Well, Jonas is a tremendous young man, first of all, and he came in here. He's a highly recruited player, and he's worked hard to improve each and every year, and he's a force inside, and I think he's underrated. It was good to see him make the All-SEC second team, at least the one I've seen, but he's a key to the team. He's our inside threat. When he plays well, we typically play well. He's fully capable of getting a double-double every night. And when he posts up inside, in years past, he was not super aggressive wanting the ball, but this year he wants it, and he works hard to get open. And when he does, I want the guys to reward him and get him the ball because he's a threat. He can go right, he can go left, he can dunk on you, he can shoot little jump shots, he makes his free throws, and he's an excellent rebounder and a tremendous rim protector. So I think he's one of the most underrated players in the country. Without a doubt, he's just and I like him a lot. He's just a super young man, got a great attitude. He's friendly, and I just think the world of Jonas. And I hope he's successful in this tournament. I think he will be. The big key for our team, though, is he cannot get in foul trouble. We got to have him on the floor.
And Bert, it shows in your calling of the games with him too. And I think it's the guard in you, because the other guard, Dalton Connect, seems to have developed that same relationship that you speaks of. It seems like if he goes to him, and it's weird watching those two. Like I said, there's no jealousy amongst the team, but I ain't gonna say weird. It's super unique watching those two interact, because they've just known each other less than a year. But it seems as if they're best friends with how they approach each other on the court, their interactions, and it's been beneficial, I feel like, for Dalton Connect with having that inside game with Jonas Adu. Have you seen it or had that conversation with him about how they developed that yin and yang on the court?
Well, I haven't really talked to him about it, but I've certainly seen it develop, and I agree with you. One of the things that Tennessee does a lot is they run a high ball screen for Dalton, and usually it's Jonas who comes out and sets the pick. And a lot of times both defenders, Jonas's man and Dalton's man, go with Dalton. So he hits Jonas right around the free throw line, and he can really operate from there. And they've developed that chemistry over the course of the season. And you're right. The fact they've only played together 1 year, it's amazing. It looks like they've been together for several years. They got great chemistry, and I think the team realizes that Dalton's going to score his points, but the other guy's got to get involved. And Jonas is one of those key guys that we have to have that inside paint presence, and he gives us that. And I think Dalton and the other perimeter players realize that.
Bert, when it comes to Zakai Ziegler earning SEC Defense Player of the Year, he was not available in the postseason last year for the Vols. He is going to be available this year. How big is that for a run in March Madness?
It's huge. It is huge. And one thing you hear all the experts say is you got to have good guard play, great guard play, and Zakai gives us that. And you mentioned the Defensive Player of the Year, and if I had a vote, he would have gotten my vote as well. He is a tremendous defensive player. He puts a lot of pressure on the other team's point guard. Ball pressure is a key to our defense, and he brings it every night. And he gets in the paint on offense. He creates opportunities, makes everybody on the floor better, and then he can score. And you can't leave him alone. He can score. He can drive it. He can hit threes, and he's fearless. He's the leader of the team. He's the heart and soul and the head of the snake, so to speak, and just an excellent, fine young man. And of course, you'll hear me say that about all these guys. They're great young men. And they play well together. They're unselfish, and it starts with Zakai.
Vol Network's Bert Bertelkamp joining us this morning on RKW. And that's what I wanted to get into a little bit is just the identity of this team, what these guys are like in the locker room. I remember covering the Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield team, and it was just a special bond. Can you describe what this one is? Just go into specifics with this team particularly.
Well, I think it starts with Coach Barnes. He's built a culture within the program of being unselfish and playing we, not me type attitude, and that carries over to all these guys. And I'm not around them a lot day to day, but on road trips, I'm around them quite a bit, and you can tell they just like each other. They joke around with each other. They respect each other. They lift each other up when someone's had a bad game. And they're just fine young men. Look you in the eye, shake hands with you, and yes sir, no sir. They're just a pleasure to be around. And there's no that I can see. There's no animosity or jealousy. They're all playing for one goal, and that's to win the national championship. And this SEC tournament is certainly a step towards that.
Bert, as you look in the SEC tournament and as well in the NCAA tournament, what is the kind of team that you expect will give Tennessee the biggest challenge?
Well, physical teams have bothered us throughout the season. Teams that pound the ball inside can hurt us because we're pretty thin inside with Adu and Tobey Awaka as our main big guys. Now, Josiah Jordan James can play inside as well, but he's more of a perimeter player. So teams that pound the ball inside, and Mississippi State beat us earlier in the season doing that. It's been a long time ago, but down in Starkville they beat us. A&M beat us down at College Station, playing physical. So a team that pounds it inside, that has a really big team, that they can bother us and have bothered us some this season. But we rebound real well from the guard spot, and we spread the floor, and it's hard for teams to do that to us. And the ball pressure that we put on teams out front keeps them a lot of times from getting the ball inside. But that, if I had to pick something, I would say a big physical team would be a problem for us.
Bert, I know Rick Barnes has said this might be the best the SEC has been since he has been in Knoxville. When was the last time you think the conference was this strong?
Well, I think it's been strong for years, but I would tend to agree with him. The coaching is excellent in the league from top to bottom. There's a couple of teams that had rough seasons, but mostly anybody can beat you on a given night, and that's proved to be the thing through the season. We've seen upsets and seen teams get better, and I think from top to bottom it's a tremendous league. I mean, our last 4 games were Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn, and Kentucky. Well, that's a gauntlet right there, and that's 4 high-quality teams that could go a long way in the NCAA tournament.
As far as this journey that this team has had this year, you've seen the good, you've seen the bad, you've seen all the types of teams that has either been in Barnes or in a different era. What has the fan base response been on the road as they come to Nashville, which is, it's a home game essentially for them? But I've always heard those Kentucky Wildcats always make the SEC tournament their homeland too. How's the road travel been for this group?
It's been good. It's been really good. And a number of our road games, the ones that I mentioned, South Carolina and Alabama, we've had a good following. It's limited how many tickets the visiting team gets, but, these days you can find tickets somewhere online. And we've had a big following, and people hang around after the games and want to see the players. And I got to say, Dalton Connect's been a big part of that. He's like a rock star. Everybody wants to get a picture with him and an autograph from him. But our fans travel, and they'll be down there big time in Nashville for this. And Kentucky probably follows their team is probably as good as anybody, if not better than anybody in the country. But I feel like Tennessee fans travel strong as well, and will show out big in the NCAA tournament and in Nashville at the SEC tournament.
And Bert, don't mind my pettiness when I mentioned the Wildcats as Kentucky, okay? That's on me. You're way better professional than I am, and I got a lot of Kentucky fans, so they get me. But when it's in season, okay, and when it's competition, that T turns into an S. I was just making sure you understood what was going on there, okay, Bert?
I got you. No problem.
Bert Bertelkamp joining us here on RKW on Vol Network. You can hear his calls, and my goodness, there's some good ones. I would just say, how much fun has that been this year with the offensive, juice you've had, adding Dalton Connect? This team last year, even Rick Barnes said it, really based on a defensive type of game. Now you've got this offense injected into it. How much more fun is that to call on any given day?
Well, it's been a blast. It really has. The whole season. We've had, we've lost a few games and had a few low points, but the guys, they bounce back quickly. They got short memories, and it's been a blast watching Connect and all the guys come together as a high-quality team. I think they knew at the beginning of the year they had something special. They didn't know how good Connect was going to be, and obviously he's been through the roof good. But we've got a veteran team. We've got experience. We've got excellent guard play. We play really good defense, and we can score. So if we play our game, I feel like we could beat anybody in the country. And it's been a blast and a pleasure to cover these guys.
Bert Bertelkamp with the Vol Network with us. Bert, I've got to give you a thank you on the way out here, because growing up, I was the worst YMCA basketball player in all of Middle Tennessee. And every time I would pull up from 3, I would yell money as soon as I would shoot. And I think everybody got so tired of hearing money because I was so bad at shooting threes. So I have loved that catchphrase for so long. Did you have a specific moment when that started? Like, where did the money phrase come from for you?
Well, it came from one of my teammates at UT, a fellow named Terry Glenn. He was a really good one-on-one player, and when he'd shoot, he'd say money before it even, right after it left his hand, before it even got to the hoop. And I just thought it was kind of interesting and kind of funny, really. But the player who got it started was Chris Lofton.
Yes.
And if you guys remember Lofton, he was he was a great all-around player, but a tremendous three-point shooter. And he had unlimited range, and he'd shoot those long rainbow jumpers. And I don't know, I just started saying it, and it kind of stuck. And people used to say, "Well, you didn't say money enough tonight." It's kind of taken on a life of its own. But it's been a lot of fun, and I primarily do it on long 3-pointers. But I'll do it at all different times when something good happens to Tennessee, and I've enjoyed it. And I used to take my son would go to games with me when he was growing up, and they call him Little Money. So we got a kick out of that. So it's been fun.
I love it.
Great.
Bert Bertelkamp has been our guest. You'll hear him and Bob Kessling, the whole Vol Network crew here on the Zone, starting tomorrow, 11:30, when coverage begins for Tennessee and the winner of Mississippi State at LSU. Bert, we have so much fun listening to you guys, and you guys do such a good job, you and Bob and the whole crew. Thank you so much for the time, and let's make a March run and do it again soon.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me, and you all have a great day.
Thanks, Bert.
All right, there's Bert Bertelkamp with us here this morning on the show. Appreciate him on a busy week, giving us a couple minutes.
That's right.
And a lot of our teammates, y'all, and maybe myself, because I got media credentials now, may
Look
even
at
run into
you.
Bert this. It still
know.
shocks me I get media credentials. You know what I'm saying?
It is weird, though, for the first you're like, wait, what is this?
Yeah, what is this? Can I roam
I'm a
around?
player.
Yeah, I know. And I used to laugh at them walking in locker rooms like, all right, y'all, stop talking. Here they come. No, but it'd be super cool, man, running into them. But if you don't run into him, you will run into Ron Slay.
Oh, yeah, you will.
This dude.
Yeah, you will.
Holding court yesterday, man. Shout out to Savage.
So I took a video of this from where my seats were last night.
Yeah.
A video of a ton of people just
Do you have a bodyguard?
autographs, pictures, selfies. Now, his bodyguard is sitting right
I was
here.
just going to say.
Yeah.
You volunteer in there?
We can
Run up.
also, we need to let the people know, Ramon, that we're going to be in your neck of the woods
Yeah,
today.
you guys are.
Tonight, yeah.
Humble Hendersonville, 3 o'clock
In that thing.
to 6 o'clock. So while 3HL is on the air, we are going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings in Hendersonville. We have got deals on Tall Boy Coors Lights.
Coldest.
Ooh.
That is, the mountains will be very blue today
will.
at Buffalo Wild Wings in Hendersonville. So come get some wings, get some Coors Lights. Ramon and I will be there. We've got tickets to give away to the first round of the NCAA tournament in Memphis.
Okay,
That
that's
is
huge.
noteworthy to people because there is a non-zero chance that Tennessee's first round games could be in Memphis. So I'm not promising anything contractually and legally to everyone downstairs. No, I'm not giving away Tennessee NCAA tournament tickets. I'm just pointing out that if you come hang out with me and Ramon at Buffalo Wild Wings in Hendersonville today, we are giving away Memphis NCAA tournament tickets, and there is a decent chance that Tennessee starts the tournament in Memphis.
Drive down and come back, and ain't even got to get a hotel room, okay? That's
Easy.
what we're saying. Easy.
And if anything, you get to see good basketball no matter what.
Absolutely.
But hopefully the ball's there.
This is the bridge, okay, between Memphis and
There you
Nashville,
go.
too, okay? Let's go ahead and bridge this thing, okay? I got to look from Will.
Come
I ain't even looked at him yet.
together.
I ain't even looked at him yet.
If it means that we get to all break bread and break boneless wings and drink good beer together, then sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. Y'all come out, man, tonight and show Will Lee a good time,
Make
man.
Ramon chug a beer, too.
Make me chug. I'm not a huge beer fan, but
Chug
for the
that bourbon.
spirit of having a DD, designated driver,
Yes.
I will. Right
There you go.
If you were to chug a beer, which beer would it be? There's an easy answer.
What beer? Blue Moon.
Me too, because I'm
Blue
not a
Moon.
beer person either.
100%,
It's the wrong
Calvin.
answer.
Boom.
It's the wrong
With
answer.
an orange.
What are we talking about?
Guinness is the easiest beer to chug.
Dude, that's thick.
No, it's easy. No, I'm serious. Like the way that it is made, it's easier to chug a Guinness.
You know my go-to, Modelo.
Oh, yeah, that's Travis's go-to,
That's what
too.
I'm chugging. Is
Most
Modelo.
popular beer
Yeah.
in the United States.
That's right.
It's just
Isn't it
good,
light?
though. Like it ain't even cliche. Like it's just good.
Mm-hmm.
It's too good.
It's too good.
Final call for phone calls 615-737-1045. Headlines on the way out as an SEC basketball coach just got an extension. We'll tell you who it is
I
next.
thought he said fired.
Wrapping up the show, RKW is brewed by 8th and Rose, Tramone, Kayla, and Will, and the Buck Rising Show. Live from Bridgestone Arena is next. Mississippi State and LSU start off SEC tournament action at noon. Come by and see us, Hendersonville Buffalo Wild Wings today. We'll be out there drinking beers, eating wings, and watching hoops with tickets to the NCAA tournament in Memphis to give away. Todd Golden, Florida head coach, who looks younger than me, and that's saying something because I look like I was born yesterday, has just received an extension through 2030.
Okay.
And by the end of that, he'll be old enough for his driver's license.
How old really is he, though? Because he does look young. I was watching an interview with him last night on Paul Feinbaum. I was like, dang.
Super young.
This guy looks like he's maybe 30.
38.
Oh, okay. Well, good for you.
Age.
I was going to say, he's living in our camp there.
Yeah, he is. Look at that.
Cousin Danny in Nashville up next on the phones. What's up, Danny?
What up, Danny?
What up, guys? How you doing today? So,
Good.
I was seeing some stuff in the chat earlier, and it just got my mind kind of swirling a little bit, where folks were saying, let's get some more playmakers. We're excited about Calvin Ridley, and Bill Callahan can coach up talent, so let's get a tackle in the second round or the fourth round, right? And it rings false to me. And I don't say that to take anything away from Bill Callahan, but I'm sitting here thinking he just added a really talented, speedy receiver that can help stretch the field out and take some pressure off D-Hop. Maybe we're cautiously optimistic about what Traylon Burks does. I don't know. But re-signing NWI is always a positive thing. When I look at Joe Alt's tackle profile, I'm looking at PFF right now. My dude never played one single snap away from left tackle, and in 3 years starting that position gave up 4 sacks. I mean, it's an insanely impressive thing. And my question, I guess, to you guys is, why the heck wouldn't you give the most talented piece available to the most talented positional coach on your team rather than giving them scraps you find later in the round? You can just solidify that left tackle spot right now for a decade. It's done. Like Joe Alt's a no miss. Why wouldn't you give him the best piece? And I guess the question lays here, and I'll stop rambling. For you specifically, Ramon, can a positional coach, specifically an offensive line coach, really take what would be considered a lesser talent and turn them into an elite profile player in the NFL? And is it worth taking the risk if you would have Alt available at 7? I'll get off my soapbox and listen.
Thank you, Danny.
Great.
Appreciate the call.
Yes. Mailata from Philly is one of those guys that's done that. We look at even a George Fant going and being a college tight end, never playing tackle, and turning into an NFL pro. Alejandro Villanueva, marginal guy, ended up was playing defense, never played tackle or offensive line his entire life, turned into a Pro Bowl left tackle too. The examples are there when you got really good coaching. Every single one of those dudes have been in situations where they had good coaches. Looking at, I know we're going to make a big fuss about it now because we see what his career has turned into. Jason Kelsey wasn't expected to be that type of guy.
Not at all.
He's turned into an NFL Hall of Famer.
Guess who thought he would be a center, though?
Who's that?
His O-line coach.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's these type of situations, Danny, that you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that you go get an alt, right? I have been saying yesterday's signing somewhat changed my mindset that if they do go get a Brock Bowers, I'm okay with it because you understand what they're trying to do is create an atmosphere where this offense has you on your heels instead of you determining what they do. Now, Will made the point earlier. You got to see the growth and development from Will Levis. The best way to do that is to protect him. Mm-hmm. And that means really good bodies. If you pair a really good player like Joe Alt that we expect to be a good pro, great pro, with a really good offensive line coach, yes, that's a no-brainer. But if they did decide to go to a different direction and go with a Brock Bowers or somebody else or trade back and the guys that you want aren't there, I feel better, Danny, about the development of the guys. I had a buddy of mine text me, Tyler Guyton, who we spoke very loud about, right? I don't like the idea of him moving from right to left. I didn't see a whole lot of it at the Senior Bowl. But we're talking about teaching and developing and putting him in there and say, watch this dude get better. Again, most NFL tackles don't get good until like year 2 and 3 anyway. So there's still growth to be had, whether that be Joe Alt or whether that be Tyler Guyton, whether that be Tyler Fuaga, whether that be J.C. Latham, whoever the guy may be, there will still be growth. And if you attack him off the left side anyway, you also say to yourself, there will be a response that have to be had, whether he needs help or whether this is a situation where Peter Skoronski helps out more in the passing game, and it becomes team protection. It's not just on one guy. The left tackle matters. But I will continually say from this point on, it is team protection. Do you blame the left tackle when the quarterback misses his read and holds onto the ball too long, or is that a quarterback sack? That's a quarterback sack. You know what I'm saying? Or you miss the blitzer off the side because the quarterback don't pick up the DB or the linebacker. That's not an offensive line thing. So it's more than just that one spot. I'm just giving options to say that, look, if they did go a different direction, this signing helps that.
Yeah. And look, there's examples, too, of recent with Bill Callahan when he was in Cleveland last year with DeJuan Jones, total project.
Yeah.
And look at what they did with him, or he specifically did with him in a short amount of time to make him a starter when Jack Conklin went down. Like, it's doable, but I think at some point, like I said earlier in the show, like, give him a gift. And if Alt is there at 7, like, take the gift. At least give him something that's a little bit more of a, okay, you're plugging in, you're ready to go. Development will still have to happen with that player, but I think it won't be as much as maybe some of these other guys if you trade down or you get him in the second round.
SEC tournament today at noon, Mississippi State and LSU, the first game up. Arkansas, South Carolina, winner of that one will get Auburn on Friday. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Georgia, Florida. The Mike White Bowl at 8:30 tonight, the last game. Ole Miss, A&M beginning the afternoon session at 6 o'clock. Who would you rather play for Tennessee, State or LSU?
Ooh.
Easy answer.
LSU.
Yeah.
Mississippi State.
Really?
What?
I was going to go
State
LSU.
high.
Because you want the opportunity. Well, they're 8-10 in the conference.
Oh, they got decent down the stretch.
I think you want the opportunity to get a little bit of revenge on Tolu Smith and Mississippi State. I would much rather play them.
Okay.
That's the show for today. The Buck Rising Show is coming up next. Stay tuned all day for coverage from Bridgestone Arena. Tons of reaction still on the Titans free agency. Who knows what will break today? And who knows what words of wisdom Ramon Foster will throw in, along with the normal ones that he always gets.
Really good one. Peter Skoronski is a left guard. Okay, all right. But in the meantime,
yourself.
Oh my
I
gosh.
did. He's a left guard. All right. But your Twitter fingers and your mic is always out.